That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the Bro Hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my Bro Hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it!
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it!
Now, the best local sports
live.
show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? On this 8th of April, 4 weeks to the day that the NBA suspended their season. See? We've made it this far. We can do this. We can. I know some of you are, well, having a hard time of it. We will do this together. I promise. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're always streaming this and every show on the station at foxsportsfm.com, and we are broadcasting live many a place, including on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Top of the morning to you. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, and I echo your sentiments at the beginning of the show with just one addition. We will do this together, separately.
Right. From a distance.
Right.
Right. Oh, these are strange times. They certainly are. When you were growing up and you were in history class, did you ever look at what has taken place around the world and in our nation's history and think, someday there's going to be something that takes place which is of our generation, that future students 40, 50, however many years down the road we're going to read about, and it was going to encapsulate us?
Yeah, no, I never thought that way because most of the history that I studied, and I did even some in college, was period history, if you know what I mean. In high school you did an American history, you might do a world history. You got into the Civil War or World War II or the Revolutionary War. We didn't even ever get into Vietnam when I studied any of my schooling. I don't ever remember any Vietnam history, if you will. We just kind of avoided that. That didn't really happen.
Yeah, took us a while to kind of wrap our arms around that.
I got you. So, no, there weren't any events that, I don't recall thinking that when the Challenger space shuttle blew up, going, well, that wasn't my first instinct going, well, now there's something they'll write about from our era. But if you think about it, if you think about the differences just in the last, from a technological standpoint, it's been immense of the chapter of our period. But nothing will really compare to 2020. When we essentially shut most of the world down for a month.
Right. Like all of a sudden you would turn over and it would be Chapter 6, the War of 1812.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, there will be history books in which it will flip over and it will be Chapter 13, the pandemic of 2020.
David, I am going to venture out today at some point to go grocery shopping. I'm going to wear a mask.
Okay.
No. There's nothing more to that statement than I'm going to wear a mask when I go out. Did you ever think in your lifetime you would leave your house, even with SARS and the other incidents we've seen a lot of folks in Asia wearing masks? Did it ever cross your mind that you may have to put one of these ridiculous things on in order to go outside?
No, I thought maybe if I got hammered on Halloween. All right, maybe. But no. I watched all that stuff take place around the world in the last 20 years and thought, sucks to be them.
Yeah.
Never thought it would be us. No.
And I had to make a drive yesterday. A friend of mine, old friend of mine, just a salt of the earth, good human being. And he works at the hospice in Bonita, actually, where my father passed. But that had nothing to do with it. But Rob, somebody sent him, he's from Texas, from Houston. Someone sent him a big thing of habanero peppers. And so Rob made a vat of salsa. And he lives on Fort Myers Beach, and he had been in the food service industry for years and years. He is not anymore. But people on the beach are in trouble. We've shut down every restaurant. A lot of service people live not just paycheck to paycheck. Some live shift to shift. Now, you can be listening and go, how could anybody ever do that? Well, I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of people out there who do. And so Rob made all this salsa, put up a thing on Facebook and said, I'm taking donations. I said, give me a jar. And I gave him $10 for it. And he said, I got most of the items donated, so it didn't even really cost me anything but time. So I gave him $10 for a jar of salsa, and he just looked at me. He goes, thanks, brother. He goes, just got a call from a girl who's down to her last $10. That's where this is going. And that is the sickness part. I've had one person who I know. You know him as well, David. He is the GM and has been the GM of Bass Pro Shop for years. Believe he's had the virus. Looks as if he has crossed the hurdle in which he is getting better based on what I see on Facebook. So that's the one person I know who's had it. But on the financial end, I think, David, we all know several people who have been impacted quickly. And that's why we do our takeout shout out. That's why, I'm trying to do little things. That's why you say you're going out to dinner and just buying food. And, a guy I know played a virtual concert the other day. I Venmo tipped him $10. It's like these people make their living out and about, and they have been told they can't. Period.
I remember one time paying all my bills, and I was working as a bartender, and I was down to my last $7 and walked into the bar that night and got fired. They were just cutting staff, and I guess it was my turn. And I literally said, can I please work this shift? I literally paid all my bills this morning, took every dollar out of the bank, and obviously was planning on, replenishing the checking account. And so when you were talking about shift to shift, I remember walking into O'Toole's in Scranton and getting fired and going, Pete, can I just work tonight? I took out the $7. I go, this is all I have in the world right now. And so I hear you.
Did you work the shift?
I hear you. No.
I didn't think so.
Sorry, can't do it.
Because when you're fired, you're fired. I actually would have thought less of Pete if he'd have given you the shift after that. He made his mind up.
Yeah, the funny thing is Pete and I roomed together, too.
Wow. I mean, maybe if Pete handed you 20 and said, hey, I can't do anything for you, but here's 20. And I
started my Domino's pizza career. All right, I walked right down the street to Domino's and filled out an application.
Well,
so
trust
it led
me,
to better things.
Not far away from that Domino's application, David. I'm here to tell you.
I would think the pizza joints would be, at least the delivery folks at the pizza joints would be doing pretty good business these days. 479-5551, 479-5551 is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. You could always send us a text for our end of the show takeout shout out if you don't know what we're talking about. It's meant mostly for the hospitality industry and the restaurants who we know are struggling. They employ quite a few people. And you think about, everything involved in the food for a restaurant and all that. There are quite a few people that are tied to our restaurants staying afloat. And so you could just send us who you are, where you are, what you got going on, and we will give you some free publicity. If you want to record the message, the phone number is 479-5577, 5577, the last four digits. And you could record your takeout shout-out message. Keep it short and sweet, and it might very well make the airwaves. But the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line is 479-5551. I do have a pet peeve that is emerging from what we are going through now. When you say there are no bad ideas, then there are no bad ideas. All right? I mean, Mark, you've been a manager. You've held a meeting. I've been a manager, held a meeting. When you open it up and say, hey, we're spitballing here. There's no such thing as a bad idea. Now, of course, that sets up at least one joke in the meeting in which somebody throws out something and you go, I said there are no bad ideas except for that one. And we all laugh and we move on. But all of these sports, imagine being the commissioner of a league right now. I mean, just for a second, you're running a league. What are you not considering right now? I mean, honestly, this is the proverbial, guys, there's no such thing as a bad idea. Go.
You know what they're not considering? Folding. That's about the only thing, David. They're not considering shuttering. They're not considering closing the doors. So you're right. And it is amazing. And look, it's tough to say there's no such thing as a bad idea because there are plenty of bad ideas. But it's one thing to say in the room, you know, this is the problem, David. We say in the room we're spitballing, there's no bad ideas. Then one of these ideas gets leaked. And we have this thing now called Twitter.
Oh, and everything sucks.
Which is shorthand for, my God, you're an idiot, and how stupid are you?
Right. And that's what's bothering me from this. Imagine, so you're the NHL, you're Major League Baseball, you're the NBA. Think about, and listen, these ideas get leaked for a reason. They get leaked from the league standpoint because, well, the leagues do it a lot like politicians do. They throw an idea out there as a trial balloon. They just want to see the 24/7 news cycle, whether it's going to be well received or not. And you know what? If it's deemed plausible, they actually may go public with it and try to push it forward. And if it gets, just shredded, they may go, good thing we weren't seriously considering that. Or it gets leaked from the players' point of view because the players think it's an awful idea and they want it crushed. But think about what has been thrown out there as a trial balloon in the last 48 to 72 hours. The NBA trying to take everybody to a central location and test everyone when they get there. And then continuously test people throughout the process of the playoffs. Put them all up in a couple of hotels, play in one, maybe two arenas all in the same city if you can handle it, which makes people think Vegas for the NBA. And then there you go moving forward. It's a ridiculous idea. Really? That's worse than what? Picking a date and starting it up in 30 different cities or 16 different cities if we go straight to the playoffs? I don't know. I actually think it's a lot more plausible. Then there's the NHL idea, which came to public knowledge yesterday, in which they're considering some remote big college arenas. 2 of them, at least, maybe 4, but the 2 that went public were Grand Forks, North Dakota, and someplace in New Hampshire. Because, well, they've got NHL regulation, ice surfaces.
And dorm rooms.
They've got dorm rooms and hotels. And so, of course, then you've got, and listen, I'm usually a players guy versus the league. I usually take the side of the players. But to me at this point, if you're the players, you can't, pardon my French, you can't be bitching about some of these ideas. I'm sorry. Oh, well, we're never going to go for a 2 months hold up and hey, do you want to play or not? This baseball idea, Mark, that it came to fruition yesterday. We may move everybody to Arizona. And we're going to play at I think it's 10 different spring training sites.
Right, they're going to play at the Diamondbacks ballpark,
Stadium.
and then all of the spring training sites that are in and around the greater Phoenix, Scottsdale area.
Right, and they're talking about, hey, I don't know what to tell you. We may have to bring everybody here for 2, 3, 4 months at a time, and you may not go home. Oh, well, the players will never go for that. Well, okay, we can just cancel this season.
And they don't get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
and
they don't get paid.
Now,
That's an important thing to note, that they came to a deal last week in which they get their service time, but they only get like 40 days pay. That's it. That's all they're going to get paid. Whatever it is your salary is, prorate it towards about 6 weeks of the season. That's all the money that's going to get shelled out. So don't tell me this is a bad idea. I mean, honestly, if I'm Bettman, if I'm Manfred, I'm like, are you serious? You're going to give me pushback? Fine. You come up with a better idea. And don't tell me we're going to play in 30 cities, because that ain't happening. And if it is, it ain't happening anytime soon. And we're going to cut this season in half on our best day.
you know, they talked about a bunch of 7-inning games and a bunch of doubleheaders. And look, it sounds crazy. It does. And your initial reaction is to just say, well, that's stupid. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it stupid? Because we've always played 9 innings and now we're suggesting something differently? Because I will ask anybody who said yesterday, well, that's stupid. Have you bitched about a baseball game being too long at all recently? Because if you're a baseball fan, I don't know how you couldn't have. Like, I literally do not know how you could be a fan of the sport. Seth Everett, who will be on the show today, is the biggest baseball fan that we have on. Seth is disgusted with his sport. So if Seth tells me it's a stupid idea, this will be the second time Seth and I have an argument on the air.
Well, I'm sure Seth will think it's a stupid idea. I'm positive that he will. And, yeah, we will go at him and go, well, Seth, I mean, we need ideas right now.
Right,
this
because
is
that's
a
all
worldwide pandemic.
That's all people are doing. They're bitching about the draft moving, or not moving. They're complaining about when the Masters is being played. And for the most part, David and I have been looking here going, wow, it's to be interesting for CBS. They're going to have to do a few things here. But, hey, these are the SEC. I mean, my first reaction was to look up my first reaction when I saw the Masters was not to go, well, this is stupid. My first reaction was, what time's sunset? My next reaction was, what are the SEC games that Saturday? I mean, but both of them I looked at, I went, well, 5:30, that means that they'd have to play a little earlier. And the SEC schedule kind of sucks that week. Georgia, Tennessee, and it's in Athens. Hell, a few of those Masters guys could get over there in time to, I mean, they could even have Vern on the sideline for a little interview in the second half if they wanted to.
You know, you make a dadgum good point. I mean, Billy Payne, I think, could catch most of the third round and still make kickoff. Right.
Now, I mean, the helicopters going from from Augusta to Athens in and of itself would be hysterical.
Well, and the private planes lined up. I mean, my goodness. But, so it's a little bit of a pet peeve that is forming here. That, listen, these are not normal times. Not even close. And there's a very good chance, since we haven't had one of these that has affected our country in this way in 102 years, that, you know, knock on wood, this will be the only one of these that we've got to deal with. Like this. So, is there really a bad idea? I mean, if your sport, if Major League Baseball, now everybody's screaming and yelling, so I doubt this idea will happen, and apparently the Players Association would never go for it. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. If I was a commissioner, I'd press the envelope here. I'd make them sue. I really would. Fine, you publicly sue to stop this idea from going into place. I don't know what to tell you. We don't have a better idea, and you haven't come up with one either. We're going to Arizona. And when the health people say it's safe, we're putting you all in one area. We're not letting anybody else in. We're literally going to have a list of people. If your name's not on it, you can't be there. And we're going to test everybody. And, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Some people are probably going to get it, at which point, no, we're not going to shut everything down. Those that test positive are going to be removed from the scene until they're clear to come back. And we're going to do this. Either that or we're not going to do this at all. And we'll see you in 2021. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Mark, they canceled the British Open.
Yes,
I mean,
they did.
They're not playing Wimbledon. It's done.
Done.
We'll see you next year.
They've played this every year since the 40s. The last time they canceled Wimbledon was this event called World War II.
Correct. Correct.
I don't know how else. And, I will say, yeah, there are bad ideas. I get it. But
I
the
do
fact
too.
that we can't discuss every single thing and go, well, and as opposed to just throwing everything away, isn't there something we can take from just about all of these ideas to figure something out? Because your alternative is no sports. Now,
Well,
let's just remember that.
Yes.
Your alternative is nothing.
Right. And the hockey players who are complaining, well, it wouldn't be fair if we didn't finish the regular season.
It's
Yeah,
not fair. Life's not fair.
I don't
In
know what to tell
2020,
you.
hey, you know what? You could be a high school senior that couldn't have gone to prom or your graduation. In the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, you big jerk, this pales in comparison to what 17-year-olds are going through right now.
I
Not to
heard
mention that people are dying. So, I mean,
I heard-
I don't know where you stand on this, but you playing in North Dakota seems a hell of a lot better than, I don't know, dying.
And not only that, I mean, honestly, of all the professional athletes, are there any athletes more low maintenance than hockey players?
No.
No, and so I laughed when all of these obstacles to the plan that was floated yesterday of, all right, we'll have half the league in North Dakota and half the league in New Hampshire, and we'll house them, and they'll all have to stay there, and then we'll just play the playoffs and what have you. And people are like, no, I can't do that. The housing's not adequate enough. Hold on a second. Do you know what these guys' journeys were to get to the NHL, most of them?
Does anybody know what a billet looks like?
I mean, does anybody know what it's like throughout the western half of Canada in which you're staying with strangers' families, all right, and you're dropping out of high school? I mean, are you kidding me? Really? 1 to 2 months, maybe 3 at the most, cooped up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, wherever the heck they are. And not only that, you're not cooped up in Grand Forks, North Dakota in December and January. Trust me, been there. You're cooped up in the summer. It's actually quite nice. Now, yes, there may not be a 4-star hotel in Grand Forks. For that, you got to bus an hour south to Fargo. Wow. Suck it up, dudes. Really? And yes, we may not be able to finish the regular season. And would that be quote unquote unfair? Yeah. Hey, Dems the brakes, man. Dems the brakes. Because every day that goes by, all of these leagues and the players in them who go, we're never going to go for that. Well, listen, every day you get dangerously close to see you next year. I mean, if given the alternative, something versus nothing, at what point are we going to start to hear, well, we're open for anything? There you go. Now, that's the attitude I want to start hearing from the player side of things in baseball, basketball, and hockey. That's the attitude I want to hear. Hey, at this point, we're open to anything. Okay, now we can talk. That at least, Mark, sounds like, hey, you guys are actually going to offer up an idea or two as well. And this isn't all coming from us. What ideas do you have?
I'm with you.
Because I got up here on the board at the very bottom. You know what it says? Cancel the rest of the season. Just so you know, if you don't come up with anything above it, at the very bottom here, we're getting closer to it every day. Cancel the rest of the season.
I just have a question for you. Do you think that the Radisson Hotel Fargo, would you consider that a 4-star? Because I'm looking through the Fargo hotels. You kind of lost me when you got on 4 stars in Fargo because I don't buy it. And what I'm going with right here, what I see as the best, I'm on right now TripAdvisor. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, David, there are all kinds of dates to book. But
Really?
yeah, the Radisson Hotel Fargo, I mean, they do give it 4 little notches in TripAdvisor for $96 a night.
Right. I would consider, you know what? Radisson was considered a 4-star when I was there, and that was over 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think in 20 years it's lost a star and a half.
No, I would think exactly the opposite, that Fargo's gotten bigger. North Dakota State success, my guess is that everything's been upgraded.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot more money that's been pumped into Fargo in the last 20 years.
All right, I'm just telling you, I've been to 4 booking sites, and the Radisson Fargo seems to be the best hotel in the city. There's a lot of La Quintas, Comfort.
Oh, yeah.
I am leaning to the side of the NHL player the more I
Stop
look
it.
at the facilities
Stop
in
it.
Fargo.
Stop it.
I mean, I don't even. Do they have a Hampton Inn in that town?
First
there
off,
it is.
Fargo's,
$1.08 for a Hampton Inn and Suites. That is considered a 4.5 star. That is it's the number 5 best value in Fargo.
if you were an NHL player, and Fargo's 75 miles south of Grand Forks. by the way.
So Grand Forks
Okay,
is worse?
Oh, Grand Forks has far less accommodations than Fargo.
Okay, I'd rather be in Winnipeg.
Hold on a second.
I'd rather be in
Well,
Winnipeg.
And that's only 3 hours due north of Grand Forks. Same highway, I-29. Boom.
I told you yesterday after the show, and we got to get to break. The only NHL problem I had with is the number of rinks. I think Minnesota, Michigan, Boston, areas where there's a lot of practice rinks, because I don't see why they need a stadium. That's just, I'm not knocking them. I'm going, why do we need a 15,000-seat arena? No one's going to the game. Is that
Well,
for television
I think-
angles?
Well, I do think that's part of it. The other reason I believe that they picked some remote locations here that have very little COVID.
Well, yeah,
I mean, there's only 600,000 people in the whole state.
right.
of
It's
North
low
Dakota.
population density. Exactly what you're
Right.
talking about. Totally.
Right. So, Miller and Moulton. 479-5551 is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 479-5551. Did get a text this morning from someone wondering how are the Astros going to get all their video equipment to Arizona with no one seeing. Nice.
It's a hell of a good point.
Well played. Well played. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Hump Day edition on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
The coronavirus has changed our lives.
You're clear.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Who would have ever thought we'd see a day when sports would stop?
It's not about your bracket.
Question, guys. Am I answering the phone here for regular callers now?
Fox Sports Radio will continue to
Okay,
keep
and do
you
I just give them
informed
to you
on all the
verbally
latest
over the two-way?
coronavirus information.
Best way would
through
be
our
the
partners
text,
at
Ian,
Wheat
to
News.
just shoot us a text and give us the name and
For
the
the
town.
latest in our ever-changing sports
Okay, all
world.
right, very
It
good.
looks as if the Olympics are going
I haven't
to be
had one yet,
postponed.
but in the
Count on
event it rings,
Southwest
I'll do
Florida's
that.
Fox
Perfect.
Sports Radio.
Blue Emu Deep Penetrating and Odor-Free Formula supplies healthy muscles and joints. Blue Emu works fast, and you won't stink.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdoor.com.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
We're on the phone with our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. TJ, we hear you've added several new colors of Core-Tec to your great lineup of products at the store. Tell us more about that.
We just ordered 5 new colors of Core-Tec for our stock. All nice, light, beautiful colors for Southwest Florida. That'll bring our total of 55 colors of Core-Tec in stock every day for purchase and take home.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec Wood. Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at foxsportsfm.com. We are Fox Sports.
At Naples Nissan, the answer is yes. Yes, we're open, and you can still get the original base MSRP for your trade-in. Yes, your new Nissan will come with a full tank of gas for the next year and our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. And yes, absolutely yes, our entire team is fully committed to doing everything we can to help keep our entire Southwest Florida community healthy and safe. If your trade-in is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles on it, we'll still pay you what you paid for it so you can drive home in a brand new
Sorry, I was sarcastic this early in the morning.
Nissan today. That's right, folks. Every new Nissan that leaves our lot will be treated with our long-term antimicrobial sanitizer. It's like a flu shot for your car. Plus, a full tank of gas on us for the next year. To learn more about everything we're saying yes to, come see us on Pine Ridge Road or visit naplesnissan.com. Yes, offers are on select models with approved credit, and yes, they can be combined.
There will be parties again soon, and family gatherings. There'll be parades and sporting events and concerts. To help our communities when they come back together, respond to the 2020 census now. Spend a few minutes online today to impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Respond online today to make America's tomorrow brighter. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. LED color-changing pool lights can create an after-dark backyard oasis. Pick your color or select one of the light shows. You can see how dramatic it really is on our website. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"28 minutes before 7 o'clock on this Wednesday morning, the 8th of April. It was 4 weeks ago tonight that the NBA suspended its season. How long ago does that feel? Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting live many a place, including the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. They are free. We'd encourage you to sign up, and you get to see Miller and Moulton and not just hear us. The Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line is 479-5551. Call or text in at 479-5551. Do we have a poll question?
We do. We are up and we had a poll question before the show started, David.
Wow. We are
well, and I will say, I will say, I shouldn't, but you did not like my enthusiasm for having a poll question this morning. You answered the Skype, and you're a lot closer to the computer when you press the Skype thing, because right now it's just I got the picture of your head. But as anybody knows, when the Skype comes, it's the big picture first before I minimize it and do all the things. And it was just a groggy Moulton. He answered it, no headsets on, in no mood to talk to me.
No.
For the first 30 seconds, and I was late this morning. I'm usually up here by 5:40, and it was about 5:51 when I dialed David. And he had no interest in even talking to me.
Whatever.
All I heard was breathing and keys hitting. No headsets on, no microphone near him.
No.
Finally, we got a poll question out of him, or at least a contribution. Yesterday.
Well, first off, there we go. How about yesterday?
Yesterday, for the record, you can only watch one on November 15th, 2020. That is Sunday at Augusta this year, folks. NFL Week 12 or Sunday at the Masters. 60% of our audience said Sunday at the Masters.
That's why we did the question. We figured there are very few markets in the country where that would have won, but we thought it had a good chance of winning here. The NFL got out of the gates fast, too.
They did.
I mean, pardon the pun. I mean, they started especially at Augusta, they started 3-3. They started birdie eagle.
I was going to say it was
fast start.
It was very Mahomes-esque. They got out to a big lead. But today, being that it is normally Masters Week, and Then depression set in, as Bill Murray once said in Stripes. But which of these is your favorite Masters? And we only listed 3. We could have listed 300. But Jack in 86, his last. Tiger in 97, his first. Or Tiger in 19, his last?
He asks with a question mark. So Jack 6th, Tiger's first, Tiger's 5th. Those are your 3 choices as to which of your Masters is the favorite. Today would have been the par 3 contest. They are airing the 86 Masters final round today beginning at 3:30 on ESPN. There will be classic Masters rounds airing through the weekend. Today, tomorrow, and Friday, they're all airing on the 4-letter network. On Saturday and Sunday, they're airing on CBS.
And without any further ado, David, it is time for
The Starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
So what'd you all think of the jerseys? The Bucks had their big reveal yesterday at 1 o'clock. First thing I noticed is that Chris Godwin was wearing number 12.
That is the only thing of the whole... You know, I got the notification on my phone, and normally for a jersey notification, I would never press it. But I'm like, it's the Bucks. I'm a season ticket holder. Let's see how my daughter's going to look in this Tom Brady number 12 jersey. Oh, you should have seen it.
The guts.
Oh, not even close. She told me if anyone is wearing a Tom Brady Bucks jersey, it's me and me only. It was explained in no uncertain terms last night. But so I watched. I wanted to check out the jerseys. And the linebacker... Well, you must have filmed these a long time ago because he's number 14 now.
Right. But Levante David and Chris Godwin, I believe, were the models. There are 3 basic colors. They've got their predominantly red jersey.
Right.
All right. And then they have their predominantly white jersey with just a little bit of striping. And then they have their, would you call it gray? I know they're probably going with pewter, but they're going with gray.
It's sharp.
Now, see, that's the love it or hate it jersey.
I liked it a lot. I really liked it.
See, I don't like it. I love the red, and I like the white, and I want no part of the gray.
Loved the gray. Loved the gray.
Basically, they went back to the jerseys that they brought in year 2 of the Dungy regime. I think when Tony took over in 96, that was the final year of the creamsicle. And then they changed, and they basically went back to the same color scheme and a similar design as to what they wore when they started winning on a consistent basis for the only time in franchise history. The helmet is pretty much the same one that they ended last year with, the big old flag on the side of it. But the Bucks with their big jersey reveal yesterday, 3 dominant jerseys, red, white, and gray. Timmy Brown was a member of the 1960 Eagles NFL championship team. It was the only team that beat Lombardi's Packers in a championship game during Lombardi's tenure in Green Bay. Timmy Brown passed away yesterday at the age of 82. A couple of plans got floated yesterday. In baseball, the talk is maybe late May, everybody makes their way to Arizona, and they have about a 3-week spring training, and by mid-June, they're playing at the Diamondback Stadium and using the 10 spring training sites, and everybody is in Arizona, and they plan to maybe be there for the whole season if they have to. That obviously was met with a lot of resistance. One note, South Korea is planning on their spring training beginning on April 21st, targeting an early May beginning to their season. That's worth paying attention to because China tried to restart their sports leagues and have had to keep putting them off. Here's South Korea setting dates, and we'll see if, in fact, that country is able to stick to it. Obviously, we're looking to see elsewhere in the world where they're able to get back up and running from a sports standpoint, and then maybe that'll give us some hope and a time frame as to when we can start doing it as well. A third Colorado Avalanche player, Mark, has tested positive for the coronavirus. That, as Gary Bettman gave an interview yesterday to NBC in which he said, I'm unsure about finishing the rest of the regular season, which of course had a few players griping. And there are teams that would miss the playoffs by just a point or two, and there was about 13 or so games left in the season for everybody, so they feel cheated. But hey, Gary Bettman facing the reality of, yeah, if we return, I think we may have to go straight to the playoffs. The Lakers are asking their top brass, Mark, their top executives, to all take a 20% pay cut. And the feeling is that you take the pay cut, and then this way we don't have to cut everybody else's pay in the front office. That those that are making the most take the hit.
Did you see, and we've not really talked about this because it's not in our country, but did you see, I think it was the health secretary in the UK, I believe his title is the health secretary in the UK, when giving a COVID-19 update, decided, I think it was late last week, to go after the Premier League players' salaries in his talk, and Wayne Rooney got hot. And I ended up reading up, and I think Rooney was totally in the right. He's like, what is this guy doing? This guy's supposed to be giving us an update on what we're supposed to be doing for health and welfare, and he's telling us to take a pay cut and using that form. And what's, the one point he made, he said, taking a pay cut would actually hurt healthcare in this country because, well, we're taxed on it. Where does it go? Different when their healthcare system's very different than ours. That money goes, a lot of it goes directly there. But he really took the UK to task because they've been working on things behind the scenes for pay cuts for these guys. The union and the teams are working on something, and this guy goes up on a pulpit and decides to do that. I mean, not the right move.
Well, a very serious discussion is something needs to be worked out. First off, I thought I read where La Liga could lose $1 billion. Now, I don't know about you, Mark, but that seems like a lot of money.
It does.
That seems like something that a league really might have trouble coming back from. That's just me. Never mind all of these individual clubs. I mean, right, as it stands right now, the players are getting their full salaries. Well, obviously, they're not playing, and no revenue's coming in. And
it varies from league to league.
Salaries.
It varies from league to league, but you are right, because like Barcelona, they've all taken huge cuts because that, as I mentioned, that team's a lot like the Green Bay Packers. It's a club team. But the Premier League's a different story. La Liga, the Spanish League, the German leagues, they pale into comparison into the money and the wealth that is in the Premier League. The Premier League looks at the NFL and goes, you guys are starting to figure it out.
Yeah, that's a cute little league you guys are running
took
there.
a while, but you guys are starting to finally figure this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, you guys aren't popular, but you're getting there. All right, good for you guys. Well done. Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick yesterday said, I can't see us playing games with no fans. I'm just telling you that right now. I could see us not playing games before I could see us playing games with no fans. Once again, what's it come to? Now, of course, he talked about the atmosphere and this, that, and the other thing. It's money. Okay, can we cut to the chase? It's money. There's no sense playing these games unless they're going to make maximum money. That is the purpose of these games to these schools. Okay? They would love to win them, but they have to play them.
Which is why the pro leagues are talking about having events in Las Vegas and in Arizona and in New Hampshire and in North Dakota because they need the TV money. The colleges need the gate.
Yes.
As David said yesterday with Florida, you're talking $5 to $7 million every time they open their doors for football. That's seven times.
Home dates a year.
That's $35 to $50 million. 35 on the low end, 50 on the high for those of you struggling with math before 7 a.m. I get it.
Mike Gundy, who's no longer 40, in fact, now he's 50. Mike Gundy
might be a grandpa instead of a man.
Oklahoma State football coach came out yesterday and said, we need to start up spring ball May 1st. All right, and then we need to, have our spring games, and we just need to, these are young guys. They're not going to get sick, and if they do catch it, they'll beat it. They're fine. We need to go. And he talked about we need to start pumping money back into Oklahoma, which of course got everybody out of shit. Go, wait a minute. So we're doing this for the economy? You want the players to risk their health? They're not being paid, and we're doing this for the money? So the school, by the way, did come out and said, we love our Mike Gundy, but, yeah, that ain't happening, Coach. But Mike's taking a little bit of heat for his stance yesterday. He started his hour-long press conference with like a 20-minute monologue.
And Mike Leach was applauding every word that he said, saying, take some heat off of me because, well,
right.
This is not going so well, and I'm going to have to take a class or two because, well, I'm not going to tweet much anymore.
Mike Leach has had plenty of backlash from a tweet that he threw out there a few days ago in which he had a wife who was beginning to, knit a noose for her husband. And the noose did not go over well. He's had 2 players already enter the transfer portal, and they both cited the tweet as part of their reasoning. The school officially came out yesterday, Mark, and said they were, quote, disappointed in Mike Leach, and they said, we believe he needs to, quote, raise his cultural awareness of the state, unquote. So there you have it. And we thought Lane Kiffin was going to be the one that would get into trouble. Huh.
Well, he's next.
Huh. Yeah,
and I thought, I don't know, David, I know it's a little bit of lip service. I actually thought the wording of that was perfect. Mike, you're in the South.
Awareness of the state.
You're in Mississippi. You have to be very conscious of everything you say and do because it will be taken in that context. And he made a terrible mistake. We all know Mike Leach I don't think Mike, look, I don't know him, but I have trouble believing that Mike Leach is a racist.
I would have a hard time believing a lot of when you're dealing with a lot of young African American men for 30 plus years. I would like to think that you're not racist.
But I know it's a pretty general statement, David, but I'd like to believe that this guy was trying to make a joke and it went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
And hopefully he never does it again because I can't have a world in which Mike Leach isn't on Twitter.
Well,
I can't.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think Mike was just trying to have some fun with husbands and wives cooped up together, not getting along well, and instead it ended up going down a different lane. So
he used a bad joke. Yep.
And that is your starting 5.
The starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
At 11 minutes before 7 o'clock, we're going to check in on a couple of teams getting ready for the draft as the show moves on, the Lions and the Redskins, and we'll have our weekly chat with Seth Everett as well. We're Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening to Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the
You're
Dan
clear.
Patrick Show.
He's the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bruce Arians. Now, how do you work with Brady remotely?
It's going to have to be creative. You know, the beautiful thing of technology now, being able to have everything on computers. And it's a lot easier for a really smart guy to learn something new than 20 other average learners to learn something else. And it's a lot easier for Tom just to switch some verbiage.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Even in my 80s, every dive is exciting and enjoyable. When I developed cataracts years ago, I couldn't see well underwater. You can have the best gear and know the best dive spots. If your eyes aren't the best, it's just not the same. And Dr. Scheibone knows that.
Knowing how much Jimbo cares about diving, it was a privilege to fix his vision.
It's great to know that we got eye doctors in our area that care just as much about me as I care about being in the water.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafora, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us.
There's a
Over
breaking
65,
news story.
diabetes,
COPD.
all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
How much money would you like to save just by doing something you're already doing? How about 40%? With Allstate, safe drivers can save 40% just by doing something they're already doing. Driving safe. That's right, 40% just by driving safe. Visit Allstate.com or call a local agent for a quote today and see just how much you can save when you drive safe with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Savings vary based on DriveWise and other safe driving discounts. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
A heart in my tasty Honey Nut Cheerios? Cereal, you trying to tell me you love me?
Actually, it's reminding you that it can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Wait! They can help lower cholesterol? I've been so focused on the sweet, tasty taste that I completely forgot. Now I'm in love.
Learn more about making Honey Nut Cheerios part of your heart-healthy lifestyle by picking up a box at your local grocery store.
94.1 Estero.
We are Fox Sports.
This election season, there's only one candidate with a spotless resume and impeccable service record.
Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs is the obvious choice. Voted #2 in the nation by TripAdvisor, Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs does it right. Owner Todd Brooks and his staff are committed to providing the best burger experience and superior customer service. With favorites like the Donut Burger, which is a handcrafted burger between 2 glazed donuts and topped with American cheese and bacon, Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs are truly building the dream one burger at a time. 4 locations: downtown Naples, Vanderbilt Beach and 41, on the East Trail at 951 and 41, and their newest location in Logan Landings on Immokalee Road in North Naples. See why Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs deserves your vote today. Online at brooksburgers.com. Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs, building the dream one burger at a time.
I'm Todd Brooks, and I approve this message.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
We're here, we're open, and we're on a mission to make a difference at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. Our service and parts departments are open for business. Now's a great time to bring your vehicle in for service. And right now, you can buy a new Galliana Kia with 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, no payments for 120 days. 2020 Kia Soul or 2020 Kia Forte. Lease for just $99 per month. That's right, a new Kia Soul or Forte for $99 per month. Want to sell or trade your car fast? Go to GallianaKia.com and submit a trade valuation request. In minutes, we'll make you an offer to buy your car, even if you don't buy a car from us. And we'll come pick it up.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana.
20 seconds.
Galliana Kia.
We're here, we're open, and we're on a mission to make a difference at Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. GallianaKia.com. 24-month lease is 10,000 miles per year, $44.99 due at signing plus tax and tag. No security deposit, subject to lender approval. Offers don't combine, expires month end.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Six minutes before the top of the hour here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Make sure you go to foxsportsfm.com, not only to listen to any show on this station, but to take part in our binge TV watching brackets. foxsportsfm.com. What show would you most binge watch? Brooks Gourmet Burgers, Jimmy Peace Chard, France Eye Care, and Kobe Cooling bringing the Miller and Moulton binge TV watching brackets to you on foxsportsfm.com. Did you get the tweet, Mark, that we both received during the starting five from Rich, who I believe is now relocated to the Northeast? He did spend some time in Southwest Florida. In fact, he was the official scorer for the Charlotte Stone Crabs for many years. But he sent us a tweet, something that he thought we might want to chew on, that Sportico is reporting, and they did so late last night, that the Little League World Series is not going to happen. It was scheduled August 20th through 30th in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, that if possible, the U.S. teams will play through the regionals, but that there will be no Little League World Series this year.
Wait a minute. They had first pitch in Little League and it wasn't on ESPN?
Well, I don't think they have had it yet.
Have they had spring training? I mean, is there something ESPN can be showing us right now, David?
Mark.
I mean, I know
let
your
me
love
tell
of
you.
Little League Baseball on the 4-letter network. Can we get, that team in the Bronx, somebody, can we get a hold of some spring training? Where is third-year Letterman covering this?
You know I hate any Little League on ESPN before Williamsport. Love everything about Williamsport. Every single thing. But hate all the regionals and hate it all. But this year, oh my goodness, Mark, they'll send the A, the B, and the C team to cover the Little League World Series regionals if, in fact, they take place. But Sportico reporting that the Little League World Series is not going to happen this year. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes all kinds of sense. And I'm trying to figure out if we're playing Little League Baseball around here.
Well, if they're playing Little League Baseball anywhere, but it did say, if possible, U.S. teams will play through their regional tournaments. Now, my thought is, Mark, if you actually get that far, then send the Little League regional champions to Williamsport.
Right.
I mean, there is a U.S. tournament in Williamsport. They split the thing in half and have the U.S. winner play the world winner. So why not just have the U.S. play each other?
David, sure, providing we play Little League Baseball. I mean, I just went to the Greater Naples Little League site. Their activities are all postponed until further notice. Why is it that we can have a Little League tournament, but we're not sure we can have college football? What the hell is the matter with you?
Well, the key words in that report were if possible. If possible. But also a lot less people, Mark, going to the Little League. That's why it could happen. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening.
We are Fox Sports.
You're clear.
Welcome to Jimmy P's Chard. As you enter through the front doors, you'll know that you've arrived in the finest steak and chop house in Southwest Florida.
All right, we're going to continue this in a very R-rated version during this break.
Okay.
The hell are you? Now, think about this. Who are the spectators at Little League games? Grandparents.
And parents.
That's what we want, is a bunch of old people around together watching Little League where we can just spread this disease between 3 generations all at once.
Well,
I haven't
first
seen
off,
my mother in a month.
in theory, you could sit 6 feet apart. But the key words were if possible. If possible, the U.S. teams will play through their regional tournament. Now, the likelihood is it's not possible. But, I mean, Mark, I don't know about you. I mean, no friends. That's the other thing. You only let family come. In theory, could you socially distance, what do you got, about 15 players on each team? And you got a few coaches, so you got 40 people involved in this. 30 players and 10 coaches in each game. Well, how many spectators are you going to have in theory? You could put a limit on how many spectators. Also, each kid only gets 4 tickets. That's it. Sorry, don't know what to tell you.
Again, we're then having these people travel, go to hotel. I mean, in the utterly ridiculous... Look, it was a great little segment. I don't care. The fact that it's even being...
Mark, in all honesty, we could continue this if you want. At some point, we're going to have to open this thing back up. I mean, how are we going to open society back up at some point?
No, I heard a fascinating... And I'm not joking. I heard a fascinating interview on Stern yesterday. And guy's last name starts with like a Y maybe, but he's on these, like he's high
Brady's
up there.
On Stern today.
Huh?
Brady is on Stern today.
I know, but this was about COVID. But we can, boy, it's like talking to my kids sometimes. But this guy thought mid-May, and he thought we're going to be out and we're going to be in masks, and we're going to have to be in masks. and that we'll slowly start weaning ourselves off masks. It was actually the smartest interview I've heard on this. Surprise, surprise, from Howard Stern doing it. Because Stern's losing his mind. He's scared to death. He was bitching about a guy passing him jogging too close. But he thought mid-May.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it! It's up to you now! It's up to you! I like it!
Now, the best local sports show
You're
this
live.
town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and broadcasting live many a place, including the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Mark, if you could turn the knob down, I'd appreciate it. 479-5551, 479-5551 is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Chime in on the variety of topics that we have already discussed on a very lively show, just an hour and 2 minutes in.
Full. The reason buttons weren't shut off, and that's on me. Full, complete commercial break discussion.
Boy,
right up
you
until
were fired up.
Right up until about 7:30, in which I just looked down at the ground for 30 seconds to compose myself to start the second hour. That's why I didn't shut everything off.
After slamming me, going, I start talking to my kids sometimes.
Well,
man, oh man.
Well, it is interesting when I say, I heard this interview. Oh, you know who's on that show today?
Well,
Thanks.
Just comma. You said, hey, I heard this interview on Stern. I said, comma, hey, Brady's going to be on Stern today. And for whatever reason, I'm not allowed to interject.
Well, 479-5551. 479-5551. That's the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing Talk and Text line. Feel free to chime in with anything that may be on your mind, from Little League Baseball to spring training to NHL in North Dakota. Did see, David, during the break, I was looking. It appears that there is one, now I think it's the Davenport, maybe. There's one nice hotel that I did see in Fargo there. It was over $100 a night.
For those that weren't with us in our first hour, one of the ideas being proposed for the NHL is that they split the league in either quarters or halves. And, first, the NBA and the NHL, if they are in fact coming back, have to figure out whether or not they're going to try and finish a regular season, or they're just going to say, hey, we got to go straight to the playoffs. So let's just assume it's straight to the playoffs. That's 16 teams in the NHL. Do they take 4 teams and send them all to 4 different locations, or do they have 8 teams go to 2 locations? The proposal that was floated yesterday was Grand Forks, North Dakota, home of the University of North Dakota, a premier college hockey program that has a state-of-the-art 11,000-seat arena, NHL-sized sheet of ice and all that sort of deal, plus, obviously, college dorms and some hotels.
And we began the show with David talking about ideas, getting people ripping any idea. And that's where this came from. And I was having fun because I was looking at hotels in Fargo, and there really isn't much there. Fargo is, what'd you say, 78 miles to the north?
No, it's about 70 to 75 miles south.
South.
Of Grand Forks.
God forbid.
Yes.
The Hotel Donaldson, it looks like in Fargo. Let me correct that. The Hotel Donaldson seems to be the number one hotel in Fargo. I don't think they can put all 8 teams there. Someone's going to be stuck at the Home to Suites by Hilton.
Well, there's no doubt about it. There's going to be a lot of inn and suites used if the NHL is sending teams to Grand Forks / Fargo.
Because I don't think there's a lot of Airbnbs there.
Well, I will say there's not a lot of Airbnbs in between Grand Forks and Fargo. If you take a look at North Dakota on a map, they've got like 4 cities. And then everything else is, well, it's farm.
So that is, but David began the show with just going, come on now. Are we really there's no such thing as a bad idea. And then when someone floats out an idea, we can't tell them how stupid they are quickly enough.
All right. Here's the baseball. Here's the part of the baseball idea that the players and media have said, oh, there's no way the players would go for this. Now, is this ideal? Of course not. But what was floated yesterday was everybody goes to Arizona. And potentially, you may have to spend the whole season there. And so you could have players who are separated from their families for 4 to 5 months. And they said, oh, well, the players would never go for that. Well, okay. What if, for whatever reason, out of all the things that are kicked around, it's either this or no season? Now, I get it. You've got wives. You've got kids. This is far from ideal. And yes, there are pregnancies. And yeah, we get it. Yes. I mean, come on. We're in a worldwide pandemic. If this is the solution that the league comes up with in conjunction with, everything they've got to consider, and it's either this or we'll see in 2021. I mean, Mark, how would you vote if you were a player in which they say, hey, 5 months, you are not going to see your wife and kids? 5 months.
B. Oh, sorry. That's just that.
That's funny.
I think by now everybody got that. I mean, I think everybody saw that one 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's like saying, It's like saying donut. You know what I'm talking about. I actually thought that should be a part of our show now. I've actually considered that the 645 segment, should just be the meme of the day. Because the coronavirus meme of the day. Because there has been some things that have been very funny. That, every day you see at least one thing that makes you laugh a little bit, thank goodness. And I thought we should, let people, and maybe the Blue Emu guy is threatening to send me product after the interview we had. And
so we'll have the Blue Emu.
I wanted to give it away for the meme of the day. And whoever, you have pain in your life, whether it's, physical or imaginary, we'll give you something for it. But
so, all right. And the good thing is that when this coronavirus has come and gone, we could just take that off it and keep it the meme of the day and still do it at 6:45.
Yes.
So I like it. Well done, sir. Well done. But back to, okay, here's the deal. We've looked at everything, and it's like, listen, we are not going to play in 10, 12, 30 cities. This is not going to happen. We are going to pick 1 or 2 places. We are going to set up shop, and we are going to play the games accordingly, and we're going to monitor everybody that comes in. The hope is we don't have to do this for a full season, that we get our spring training back in and we get the season started, and then hopefully midway through the season we can return to, and, we'll have the games listed, Texas at New York, even though if we're playing them in the Cubs spring training stadium, that's what the game will be listed as. And if we can now travel around the country, then we could have Texas go play in New York. But if the choice is that or no season, Mark, you're a player. What would you vote for?
Well, it's simple. First off,
you'd vote to play.
I think unless they can, here's the other side of this, David, and I kind of stepped on myself there trying to get this thought out properly. The bigger problem I've had on what you said from the beginning of the show is, obviously there are bad ideas. We get it. But there's no alternative. All we have had throughout this is, well, that's stupid. That won't work. No, I've not heard the players' union say, because as you said, David, we are not starting the city playing in 30 ballparks in 30 cities. It's not happening. Okay, so take normal and move it away, because normal isn't happening.
Right,
so the only idea that we have right now is one that I don't like all that well, but I don't have something better right now.
There you go.
And this seems to be now with the hockey. I actually do. You and I discussed. I don't like the North Dakota idea. I get the reasons why. I don't know. I would have to find out how many sheets of ice there are around there outside of the main arena. You put 8 teams somewhere. You can't just practice at one sheet. Logistically, it's not possible. I thought if you go to Minnesota somewhere where there are all kinds of sheets, Detroit has 50 or 60 sheets in the metropolitan area. So I have alternatives for hockey because I know the sport a little better. I right now don't have an alternative for baseball. But what I am more sick and tired of just people blasting the idea is blasting the idea with absolutely nothing of their own, with no counter. This is what we do in society. The Republicans are idiots. The Democrats are idiots. But no one has a meaningful solution. This is what we've come to. You're stupid. Well, what should we do? I don't know. But not that. Well, that doesn't help move anything along. Of all of the things with the Arizona product that I'm actually most fascinated by, there are 2. One is the 7-inning game. Because baseball's long. I know that'll never happen long term, but if we did it and people liked it, and David, the television audience liked it.
The television audience might like it. The television would hate it, obviously, because they would lose 4 commercial breaks.
But if numbers,
that's serious money,
right?
Mark.
But if numbers go up,
you do have to acknowledge that.
Yes, David. But if numbers go up proportionately in viewership, then the advertising would then be made up.
Could make that argument. I mean, the numbers would have to go up decently. I mean, think about it. They'd have to go up 22 or more percent.
And I get it. In local markets, baseball kills it.
Yes. And so it might be tough, but then again, we might be so starved. You might get ratings this year, Mark. The 2 may actually come together. Now, I don't know if it would, if the ratings would sustain for 2021 and beyond, but we may be so starved for baseball that when, hopefully, it starts back up here, that ratings may be up 25%, and even though the game is shortened by 22%, you'd be fine. Everybody would be happy.
And the most important thing that they put into this proposal, in the efforts of social distancing, they are moving the home plate umpire 6 feet behind home plate. They are doing balls and strikes automatically. That right there is enough for me to get fully behind this proposal.
Well, one, I don't think they're going to – I don't see them moving the home plate umpire 6 feet back even when they bring in the computer calling balls and strikes. I still think the umpire is going to have to be fairly close. If for no other reason, then I think the umpire is going to have to be heard by the catcher, if no one else. So I still think the home plate umpire is going to be right behind the catcher. But, Mark, you're not the first person to say this could bring this into the fold sooner rather than later, actually, everything that's going on right now. And our point is, even if you only do it for 2020, whether it's shortening baseball from 9 innings to 7, playing, a whole host of doubleheaders, the likes of which, those of us have never seen before. Saying you can't have a game go more than 10 innings even, or 11 if you decide to play 9-inning games, saying, hey, for this year and this year only, we can't have 16, 18-inning regular season games. Just can't have it. We're asking the teams to play so many games in such a short period of time, et cetera, et cetera. We can't do it. Oh, all right. And it's the 2020 season. Much like the 1981 season was split in half. We had a split season. Yankees played the Dodgers in the World Series. All right, nobody puts an asterisk next to the Dodgers World Series championship in 1981 and goes, this season was tainted. In fact, there's a lot of people that thought it was a terrific season. Milwaukee Brewers made the playoffs, I think, for the first time in their history. Because the last time Milwaukee had made the baseball playoffs, I think they were the Braves. So the Brewers made the playoffs in 1981. I digress.
Well,
I think we need to be much more open-minded and realize you come up with a solution. Come up with something that you think you wouldn't get laughed out of the room about. This is hard. There's a lot of things to take into consideration here. And I think the players' associations in baseball, basketball, and I think basketball is willing to
I was going to say
do anything.
I don't think we can lump the NBA into this. I really don't, because of all of the leagues that have been moaning.
Open to ideas.
Right. I mean, baseball's union's been, this is terrible. The hockey union, which surprisingly slapped this around pretty good. No, the NHL players, to be honest, David, or the NBA players, not only are they looking at Vegas, they're talking about this horse tournament. They're adding WNBA players into this horse thing. No. The NBA is the one league that needs to be commended for working together. I have to be honest. You look back 4 weeks ago today, right, David? The NBA stopped?
4 weeks ago tonight, yep.
What if they'd have played for another couple of weeks? Where would we be?
What if they had played for another couple of days?
Right. I mean, if the NBA doesn't shut down, this country is not shut down as quickly as it is. There's not a doubt in my mind about that. The NBA was the leader for this. So when we bash leagues and how they're not working together, I think we do. And come on, this show has taken on the NBA as much as anybody. We're not an NBA market, but they've done it and handled this as well as, and probably better than any league out there so far.
I would just say to the Major League Baseball players and to the NHL players, so what are you willing to accept short of we all stay in our respective cities and sleep in our home beds and play a 162 and finish an 82-game regular season as previously scheduled? Because that ain't going to happen. I mean, that is not going to happen. And I do think, and is it unfair? Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, my favorite hockey team is, going to miss the playoffs in theory by like a point.
And had a shot. And
real shot.
David has a team. Now, their best player got banged up, which didn't help things. But they were, in the last month before this shut down, being very St. Louis Blues-esque.
Oh, yeah.
They were terrible.
The Rangers got in.
They were better than the Red Wings. They were better than a handful of bad teams. But all of a sudden, about January, the New York Rangers found their groove and started playing really good hockey. And I know David's bummed out because they were making a strong run. And for hockey fans out there, has the Eastern Conference ever been set up to be more entertaining than it was this year? Holy blank.
And that's why, to me, listen, I think the players need to support whatever Bettman can put together. Honestly. And I'll go so far as to say if we don't even have 8 teams from each conference make the playoffs this year. I mean, if we only go with 6 and there are no wild cards, if we have to almost skip a round of the playoffs because we just don't have time, hey, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's 2020. It's the coronavirus year. Blank happens. I just deal with it. Get ready for next season.
And these leagues that are out in front, hand it to the PGA Tour. What did they do this week? They came out and gave you a schedule. Now, I don't know how in the hell they think they're playing golf in June. I think it's laughable to think the Memorial is going to be played in Ohio. But as far as the majors, we were able to talk about the Masters this week, during Masters Week, and it's going to happen. That's a win for the PGA Tour. NASCAR, my goodness. I've had a difficult time having to answer every single person who liked a smart-ass tweet that was sent to us because when the Blue Emu guy didn't show, Blue Emu apologized. Well, it was probably as much on us as it was on Bob from Blue Emu because Ian, who's running our show this week, because Giro's gone, 7:30. He called him a little early. We ended up getting him on 2 minutes late. The guy, first thing he did was apologize. And part of the reason he was on is because they fired Bubba Wallace, their driver, because he rage quit in the I-Series, the video game.
Simulated race.
And so they fired him and didn't want to pay him. And then this guy didn't show. So, oh, great. You don't have to show for interviews? Hypocrite. I've been literally tweeting at people who have 2 followers going, no. This guy, I'm defending Blue Emu. These are things I didn't think I would ever be doing, David. But NASCAR, who has done a better job through this pandemic of putting their sport out there than NASCAR? I mean, the NFL, because they haven't quit, but we leave them on their own island because they're the behemoth. NASCAR's doing a great job.
They are. The simulated racing is working. They're attracting over 1 million viewers for every simulated race. We both believe it could lead to something down the road in which there's maybe a Friday night simulated race, and then it leads into the other racing series on Saturday and Sunday. You mentioned an island as we get ready to go for break. One thing I did not mention in the starting 5 is that the UFC, Dana White, he says he has found an island.
But he won't say which island it is.
He won't say which island, and he says it is not the United States, so that is an international territory, and therefore there are international fighters who can make their way to the island, and therefore they can continue on this island. They will keep track of everybody coming on the island and leaving the island, and they will, for the foreseeable future, they will hold their UFC events on this island. He said he will announce it shortly. UFC 249 is scheduled for a week from Saturday, and Dana White says the show is going to continue on an island not near you. Miller and Moulton. Let's talk some football, shall we? We'll talk baseball and other things with Seth Everett in a little more than an hour. But between now and then, Pete Haley covers the Redskins and Dave Burkett covers the Lions. Pete Haley is up next. Redskins with the 2nd overall pick in the draft. If it's a done deal that Burrow's going to the Bengals, you can make the case that the Redskins are on the clock. What is Washington thinking? What about their offseason moves under Ron Rivera? Pete Haley will join us next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd.
You're clear.
With Colin Cowherd.
I do not believe we're going to have an...
So I looked up this iRacing. I'm on the iRacing website. I'm going to spend a little time on this today. I want to get somebody from this thing on here.
You want to get some of the drivers?
No. I want to get like the people in charge of it. I'm more because I mean, literally, the first thing it says on here on the very top of their page, 50% off new memberships on the right side. And then it says system requirements. Anyone can race. I mean, it's like they've got everything you need. Like, I would like to go through, because I literally think, I don't even think there's enough video gamers that I think 20 people around here, if we did an interview, would almost buy one that day. I'm going to deliver groceries so I can buy a simulator.
Okay.
I like it. It's my new job, Instacart. Got my card yesterday. I'm ready to start delivering groceries. You think I'm lying? This job doesn't pay, kids. And trust me, with what's going on now, woo-wee. All right, who do we got here?
Is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles on it, we'll still pay you what you paid for it so you can drive home in a brand new, disinfected Nissan today. That's right, folks. Every new Nissan that leaves our lot will be treated with our long-term antimicrobial sanitizer. It's like a flu shot for your car. Plus, a full tank of gas on us for the next year. To learn more about everything we're saying yes to, come see us on Pine Ridge Road or visit NaplesNissan.com. Yes, offers are on select models with approved credit, and yes, they can be combined.
I'm a busy person.
Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
We're on the phone with our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. TJ, we hear you've added several new colors of Core-Tec to your great lineup of products at the store. Tell us more about that.
We just ordered 5 new colors of Core-Tec for our stock. All nice, light, beautiful colors for Southwest Florida. That'll bring our total of 55 colors of Core-Tec in stock every day for purchase and take home.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it.
So one other thing really quickly, I texted John last night about us doing the draft on Twitch.
Right.
John wants us to do it on air.
Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Attention.
We can talk after.
Have you recently questioned your safety? These are chaotic times, and these are normal feelings. What can you do to feel safe and confident? Visit the Alamo Range in North Naples.
And
Inquire
shoot
about
somebody.
Their training classes to help you be a
shoot
confident
something.
marksman.
Sorry.
And ask to be shown around by one of the staff. Notice its cleanliness and selections. Visit the Alamo and discover a new rewarding pastime. The Alamo Gun Range of Naples. Naples' premier indoor gun range and firearms superstore. AlamoRange.com.
There will be parties again soon, and family gatherings. There'll be parades and sporting events and concerts to help our communities when they come back
Because
together.
cleanliness is
respond
next to
the
godliness,
2020 census
particularly
now. Spend
at a
a few
gun
minutes
range.
online today to impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education.
Don't worry,
Respond
Ian, my
online
sarcasm's
today
right there with
to
you.
make America's tomorrow brighter. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov.
Your
Paid
guest
for
is
by
on.
US Census
Thank you.
Bureau.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach 28 minutes past the hour of 7 on this 8th of April in 2020. Tonight, the NBA suspended their season, and we all know what has taken place since. We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live many a place, including the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Sign up for them. They are free. Joining us now on the Goldberg New and Abraham Law Firm hotline, goldberg-law.com, is Pete Haley. He covers the Redskins for NBC Sports Washington. Follow Pete on Twitter at Pete Haley, Hailey, and then NBCS, Pete Haley, NBCS. Pete, top of the morning to you, and we ask this in all sincerity. How are you and your family doing during these times?
That is a very nice question. First of all, I think it's been 4 years since the sports leagues were canceled, not 4 weeks. So maybe just check your copy there. But
Gotcha.
I'm actually up in Michigan with my girlfriend. She's a grad student here, so I'm kind of walking around a quiet Ann Arbor neighborhood. It's not too bad. And then the rest of my family's down in D.C. doing pretty well. So I can't complain. I feel bad for a lot of the other people. Myself, I'm just a 25-year-old who's trying to get through, not too bored. But a lot of other people, I hope they're doing much better than I am. They're the more important folks to worry about.
No doubt, Pete. And I will tell you, I know things in Michigan aren't that great, but as someone that went to college a little bit north of there is a place in Ann Arbor called Zingerman's Delicatessen. I'm sure they're open for takeout. Make it a point to get a sandwich there. It is the best deli sandwich west of New York City in this country. And that is by no means an understatement. All right. It seems here, Pete, in the last 24 hours, and we don't know, they call it the lying season, but it seems that maybe the Redskins are starting to show that it is Chase Young. Do you see any reason why, if they're on the clock and Joe Burrow goes to Cincinnati, why the Redskins would deviate from making that draft pick?
No, I do not see much reason for that. And I think you're right about lying season, but I think the Redskins are kind of coming back to their true stance. I feel like in the Combine, where there are all those Tua rumors, that was their peak of lying season, as they were trying to drum up as much interest as possible for that number 2 pick. But I think now, and I've always kind of thought this, that people are coming back around like they were in January, that Chase Young is going to be the selection at 2. I think Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio are 2 defensive guys, former linebackers who are well aware that they can add a premier pass rusher to this defense. And I think that they look at a lot of the defensive struggles from last year as some bad coaching, some poor scheme. That's why they're in the 4-3 now. I think they like a lot of the talent on that side of the ball and think the defense can be a lot better in 1 year's change. And I think they're ready to make Chase Young the centerpiece of that unit and will make him the number 2 pick in a few short weeks here.
Well, Pete, I have to admit, on paper, I agree with them. I think they have decent defensive personnel. They've invested a lot in their front 7 in drafts and free agency in recent years. I mean, you add a Chase Young to it. I know they've had some issues in the secondary, and they've gotten rid of some corners. But, I mean, Pete, if you have a pass rush, that covers up a lot. And they draft Chase Young. I don't know if there's 5 teams that should be able to get after a quarterback better than the Redskins.
So you hear that kind of like confused tone you're talking about. That's how every one of me and my Redskins reporter friends have been talking for like the past 2 or 3 years. We look at John Allen, Ron Payne, Matt Ioannidis, Ryan Kerrigan, Montez Sweat, and we're like, why is this defense just getting gashed by second and third string running backs and losing games to Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold threw for like 300 yards against this team last year. But I think a lot of it was that bad defensive scheme by Greg Minuski. I mean, there's just first-round pedigree all over this defense, and yes, they do need to play better, but I think if they're coached up a lot better, it's going to really spike, and Ron Rivera has a reputation of getting the most out of his players. We've heard a couple free agents this week say they came to D.C. in part because they know they're going to shine for that head coach. So I think they're going to be a lot better this year on defense, and hopefully we can finally start talking about them playing well instead of talking about them playing well next year.
Well, that's the defensive side of the ball. That does not get to offense, where we have no idea what the Redskins have at quarterback, and it appears that they are going to have more running backs than any team in the National Football League this year. You know, obviously, Rivera took the job knowing that Haskins is his guy. What do we know about Haskins?
What do we know about Haskins? Well, Haskins is a very polarizing guy around here. On Twitter, whenever we suggested those Tua rumors like I brought up, or maybe Cam Newton coming to D.C. or Jameis Winston, a lot of fans really freak out about it because they're like, look, this is our first rounder. They've been jerked around through constant quarterback change. They want to trust the guy who's taken 15th overall last year, and they'll point to how he finished the season. He had 6 really good quarters against the Eagles and the Giants. He looked like a true first-rounder. And he had some starts before that where he showed incremental growth. So if you can kind of look at that if you're a Haskins supporter and say, look what he did in December, give him a full year. But then if you're a skeptic, you can say, he's a first-rounder, and he had 6 good quarters against 2 mediocre divisional opponents. Why are we trusting our franchise to this guy? I think Dwayne is a person who has a ton of talent, and I'm okay with Ron and the team giving him this year. I think if he doesn't play well, I don't buy into the Kyle Allen hype at all. I think Dwayne's going to be the starter. And look, if he doesn't play well and Kyle Allen has to play a little bit next year, then you're probably drafting close to the top of the draft again. But we're talking about this on our podcast. There's never any discussion about Dwayne Haskins breaking out. I mean, this is a guy who threw for 50 touchdowns in Ohio State, grew a ton that year, and while he only had a good December last year as a rookie, where he started in September, he looked like he had never played quarterback in his life, and in 4 short months, with a coaching staff change and a front office that wasn't all in on him, or a coaching staff that wasn't all in on him, this kid grew and turned into a capable NFL quarterback. So I'm interested to see what he can do when he has a whole year as the starter, so maybe hopefully better weapons around him in a better situation overall. So we don't know a lot about Dwayne Haskins, but I think after December, if they're playing again, we should know a lot more, and the Redskins will know if he is their guy or if they need to go back to the draft next season.
And, of course, the irony is what we do know is that 2 years ago he beat out Joe Burrow to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State, and that's why Joe transferred to LSU. He's Pete Haley. He covers the Redskins, NBC Sports Washington. Follow him on Twitter, Pete Haley, NBCS. Haley spelled Hailey. What's going on with the left tackle Williams? I mean, don't you think, Pete, they have to trade him during the draft, get the best damn offer, and move on? Because it sure, I mean, he sat out last year. I mean, he's already shown he's willing to call your bluff. I mean, if you're the Redskins, don't you just have to get as much value as you can and move on?
Yes, absolutely. As part of kind of our prep for Ron Rivera as a Redskins head coach, I went back and watched the Amazon Hard Knocks equivalent called All or Nothing, where they covered the Panthers in 2018. And in one of those episodes, he pulled a couple players aside when the Panthers were deciding about signing Eric Reed, and he was talking about how the thing he hates most is distractions. And when he sits down from a guy across from the table, he wants to know everything about him. And Trent Williams is a distraction right now. And the second point is he's never had that chance to really sit across the table from him. So I thought that was a cool little point, and it pointed to what's eventually going to happen with Trent Williams. I think the Redskins will hold this stance of give us a second rounder, give us a third rounder, but if it comes down to it, I think they'll do what they did with Quentin Dunbar, offload him in a deal that maybe doesn't look as good here in D.C., but I think Ron Rivera is very clear. He wants guys who are all in. Trent has been all out for almost a year now. He's a great player, but the money he's asking for and the risk with his injuries, it's just too much, plus all the craziness, the antics, the stuff with the agent. It's becoming a major headache. It's a headache for everybody over there at Redskins Park. So Trent Williams, I'm very confident in saying, will never play for the team again. We'll be on the move soon, and it may be a tough pill to swallow when you see the compensation they get back, but I don't think Ron cares too much about that. He just wants to start this era fresh with guys who believe in the team and want to be here instead of her being forced to be here.
Talking with Pete Haley on location in Ann Arbor. Covers the Redskins, though. Of all the places to visit in early April, Ann Arbor high on most people's list. Pete, when you talk about Williams getting moved, you mentioned they don't have a second, and they need help offensively. So how important is it to get at least some compensation, and where do you think the first place on the offensive side of the ball that the Skins need to go in the draft? Do they need more help at receiver? Is it replacing Williams on the offensive line? Where is the most important thing in this draft? Because tackles and wide receivers are there for the taking, particularly in the second round where the Redskins do not have a pick.
Yeah, this is a really tricky one. I mean, I told you guys earlier, I don't think they're going to trade. I think they're going to take Chase Young at number 2. But like you mentioned, there is no second rounder, and this team has tons of holes. So in theory, I feel like a trade would make a lot of sense, but I still think Chase is the pick. Regardless, where are they going to go? That's the weird thing about Trent is I'm saying get rid of him. Well, then the next best guy they have right now is a player named Cornelius Lucas, who was a backup swing tackle that started 8 times for the Bears last year, and he's really the best option. I still think what Ron is going to do is going to take a weapon for Dwayne as soon as possible. Like you said, wide receiver is really deep. Tight end is not as deep, but in the second, third, fourth round, that's where those guys are going to go. So I think you see Chase Young at the top to really solidify that defense. They made some really good signings there, or at least signings that they feel really good about. They picked up some starting pieces. So I think defense is Chase Young, and then they put that over to the side. They bring this terrible 32nd ranked offense that has Terry McLaurin, Steven Sims, and a bunch of really nobody else's, and they try and improve the weapons so they can see what they have in Dwayne. They have a million running backs already, so they're fine there. So I think it's left tackle is going to be maybe a free agent, like a Donald Penn type, a Jason Peters type later in the year if they don't find one in the draft. So wide receiver is what I'm looking for first whenever they start picking on that offense.
Redskins pick second, then 66th, and then they have 2 fourth-round picks, also 2 seventh-round picks. So do Redskins coaches feel that Chase Young is so worth it that if Miami or the Chargers, or even Carolina for that matter, from 5, 6, or 7 wants to move up to 2, and they're willing to give them, a second-round pick this year and future picks, that Chase Young is not worth trading out for? Because in theory, Pete, you move down to 5, 6, or 7, you are in all likelihood going to be able to get your hands on either Derek Brown, Isaiah Simmons, or the corner from Ohio State. One of those 3 should be on the board, even as deep as 7. Those are good, really good players. And if you can pick up a second-round pick and future picks as well, maybe even a high 2021 pick, I mean, Chase Young's got to be pretty damn good to turn that down.
Yeah, I like where your head's at again. This is something we've been asking them all offseason, but to no one's surprise, they've been pretty quiet about it. I'm especially intrigued by Isaiah Simmons. I mean, he seems like a transformer, the most modern football player you could ever dream up. I would love to see him with the Redskins. But we had Ron Rivera on a conference Zoom call yesterday, me and about 15, 20 other reporters, and near the end, someone asked him about the plans for the second pick, and I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, look at this guy once in a pandemic, and you're going to ask him to reveal his plans for the second pick? There's no chance he does anything. But then he kind of opened up on his philosophy of trading back, and he said the quote that jumped out to me and a lot of other people was, did you trade back and get value, or did you just get a lot of picks? And, like, yes, it's good to point out that they could go to 5 or 6 and then something in the middle of the first and then something in the second. But my kind of take on all this is that they've been drafting those guys further down the board for a while now. Kerrigan, Payne, Allen, Haskins, Sweat. These first-rounders who are in the teens to early 20s, they turned out to be nice pieces. They're good pieces. They're pieces you want to build with. But when you're at number 2, even the drop-off from 2 to 5, that's a huge, huge gap. And especially with the way people are talking about Chase Young, I think Chase Young, yes, 3 spots on a draft board doesn't seem large, but I think maybe in 5 or 10 years it's going to look large. I'm not saying Isaiah Simmons and Okudah won't be Pro Bowl-type players, but all this stuff we're hearing about Chase Young, I still haven't seen one negative scouting report. I think they're going to be more than fine to take those phone calls, say thank you, Miami, thank you, L.A., thank you, Oakland, thank you, everybody, but we're just going to hang out here at number 2, draft this Ohio State pass rusher, and then put our feet up until we're selecting again at number 66.
Pete, for the video part of our show that we stream on YouTube and Twitch, I got to find pictures of people. And the one I see you is holding a newspaper, a beer, with a jersey and a cap on. And I have to ask you, as a 25-year-old, obviously Nat fan, how difficult is April with no baseball? You cover football, but it looks like, at least from this picture, seems like it's a pretty safe guess that you were all in on the Nats. How is Pete Haley, the sports fan, doing with no baseball right now? And for that matter, if you're in D.C., no caps either.
Well, first of all, that picture, the way you described it, beer, kind of soaked, chewing on a newspaper, that's probably in the, upper 20% of photos you could have found. There are a lot of terrible photos of me on the internet, so I'm glad that's the one you stumbled upon. But in terms of Pete Haley, the sports fan, that playoff run was magical. That was the night they clinched, obviously, world champs, the newspaper I'm holding, just running the streets. It's really odd right now. The Caps, they're kind of stumbling, but it looked like they had a chance to kind of do something again in the playoffs. And then opening day here was difficult in D.C., but it does extend their reign as world champions for a little bit longer. So the petty side of myself is okay with that. I don't know. I've gotten into. I'm not the first 25-year-old who's been into sports gambling in the world, but I was really peaking right as this sports shutdown happened. So partly good because my account is just frozen and I can't keep pouring what little money I have into it. But I was really enjoying betting on Knicks Hornets game and betting over on all these ridiculous prop bets and Terry Rozier's 3.5 3-pointers. So I'm struggling. I've kind of accepted it, and I don't think anything's really coming back for a while. I just hope by the time July rolls around, even August, we have preseason football. I hate preseason football. I hate that 4th game especially, but I would kill for a preseason football game where 21 of the 22 players on the field are getting cut the instant the 4th quarter ends. I just miss it all like you guys do and like everyone does. So hopefully we can just bunker down and get through this. And when that first sports game happens, we are going to be so thankful and so appreciative of it, and hopefully we never take them for granted again.
Pete, all the best. Hunker down in Ann Arbor, and all the best to your family. Hunker down back in D.C. Safe travels when that happens, and hopefully we can talk again.
Yeah, thank you. And I heard this phone call comes with a free trip to Florida whenever everything dies down. So thank you, and I'll give you guys my email so you can send me those tickets.
Done.
Wow.
Done. DMs are open. Go at it, Pete.
Boy, the station's really stepping up. Thanks, Pete. Pete Haley covers the Redskins.
No problem.
NBC Sports Florida. Follow him on Twitter, Pete Hailey. That's Hailey. Pete Hailey, NBCS. Pete Hailey, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Dave Burkett covers the Lions for the Free Press. He'll join us at the top of the hour. Today was the day when, next, here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We are Fox Sports!
You're clear.
This is a special coronavirus update from Wink News.
I'm Therese O'Shea with Wink News. The death toll in Southwest Florida is now at 22, the latest, a 77-year-old Lee County man. There are now 800 confirmed cases in our area. Statewide, there are more than 14,000 positive cases. Lee County schools are off for Good Friday and the day after Easter, this coming Monday. There will be no e-learning lessons or grab-and-go meal distributions. Tomorrow, you can pick up breakfast and lunch bags for those days with instructions for proper storage and preparation. This afternoon, Governor DeSantis is speaking in Miami Beach, where they're expected to convert the convention center into a field hospital with 450 beds. People with high blood pressure or diabetes are now said to be at greater risk for COVID-19. New data shows more than 4,000 people in New York who died of the virus had at least one chronic illness. For updates on coronavirus, trust Wink News. Facts, not fear.
Ever purchased an online item and either it doesn't fit, has missing parts, or became damaged? Trying to save a few bucks can end up costing more. My Shower Door is a locally owned and operated family business that measures, manufactures, and installs our own brand of frameless shower doors right here in Southwest Florida. And we were just named Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. With almost 80,000 shower doors installed, we have the experience and expertise. Plus, estimates are always free. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdoor.com.
When I see something beautiful, I want to capture that moment. A photo really is worth more than 1,000 words. That photo isn't very good if it's not in focus.
Mrs. Buck loves photography, but glasses were getting in her way.
Even though photography is just a hobby, it's something I really care about, and it's good to know that Dr. List cared about me just as much.
We really don't want bad vision to keep people from doing the things they love.
Community Eye Center really does have the most caring doctors in sight.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands, be careful, don't be a spreader.
103.3 North Fort Myers. We are Fox Sports!
At Naples Nissan, the answer is yes. Yes, we're open, and you can still get the original base MSRP for your trade-in. Yes, your new Nissan will come with a full tank of gas for the next year and our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime warranty. And yes, absolutely yes, our entire team is fully committed to doing everything we can to help keep our entire Southwest Florida community healthy and safe. If your trade-in is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles on it, we'll still pay you what you paid for it so you can drive home in a brand new, disinfected Nissan today. That's right, folks. Every new Nissan that leaves our lot will be treated with our long-term antimicrobial sanitizer. It's like a flu shot for your car. Plus, a full tank of gas on us for the next year. To learn more about everything we're saying yes to, come see us on Pine Ridge Road or visit naplesnissan.com. Yes, offers are on select models with approved credit, and yes, they can be combined.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no-obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
Here we go! Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Ten minutes before 8 o'clock, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Seth Everett in a little more than a half an hour. Dave Burkett, who covers the Lions for the Detroit Free Press. He will join us after the top of the hour. You know, we mention all the time, you can check out Miller and Moulton on our YouTube and Twitch TV channels. You can watch us, Miller and Moulton, on the YouTube app. We're on Miller and Moulton in your living room with the YouTube app on your smart TV and Comcast platform. And now at 9 minutes before 8 o'clock, time for...
Time.
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We start today in 1879, David, because milk was sold in glass bottles for the first time. Today in 1879. Did you ever at any point in your life have milk delivered to your home?
Not that I can remember. I would have to ask my mom if, like, before the age of 5 it ever happened, but I cannot recall it.
There was a stint when I was a kid that we went to the milkman, and that we'd get the milk a couple times a week delivered to the little thing on the side of the door. Didn't last long, a couple of years maybe. Delicious. Just delicious. 1935, the second Augusta National Invitation Tournament, won by Gene Sorensen, wins a Monday playoff over Craig Wood.
Yeah, that kind of famous, 4-wood, hold it, second shot on 15.
Yeah.
To force a playoff. He went into after the round was over, and he said, I had a 2 on 15. And they said, well, no, you had a 2 on 16. It was a par 3. He said, no, I had a 2 on 15.
Yep. 1943, FDR, in an attempt to check inflation, freezes wages and prices, prohibits workers from changing jobs unless the war effort would be aided thereby, and bars rate increases to common carriers and public utilities. Now that's stepping in, David. Just thought that was
right.
big.
Right. There's a difference between a war on the coronavirus and World War II.
Yeah, when I read that last night, prepping this, I went, damn, that's stepping up.
Right.
1943 also, one of the great names I think that ever played in the NFL, if he did indeed play, because I'd never heard it before. He was the first overall pick, showing that the Lions in 43 probably did the same things that they did throughout their draft history. Frank Stinkwich from the University of Georgia was the first overall pick in the 43 draft. 2 years later, Charlie Trippi from Georgia was the first overall pick from the Chicago Cardinals. 1963, the Tigers claimed Denny McClain from the White Sox for $25,000. 1966, David, the AFL chooses 36-year-old Al Davis as their commissioner.
Right. I believe he coached the Raiders while commissioner.
Yes, he was the coach. That's right.
And commissioner. And for the record, we have an update, Mark. My mom said we never had the money to have afford milk to be delivered.
I got you. I wasn't trying to throw shots.
No. I'm just updating.
I just figured
we never had it delivered.
People out there, if you're under the age of 40 going, what the hell is he talking about?
Exactly.
Everybody else going, yeah, I did, or my neighbor did. 1968, we are just finished with the assassination of Martin Luther King. The 40th Academy Awards were postponed to April 10th because of the assassination. And baseball's opening day was postponed because of the MLK assassination today in 1968. Also today in 68, Jimmy Burke and Henry Hill. You may have seen Goodfellas. Today was the day of the Air France robbery in which they stole $420,000. The first one, not the second Lufthansa.
Not Lufthansa.
Yeah, right. Not the big one. This was the first one. Expansion teams in 69, Royals, Expos, Padres, and Pilots all win their first game, and it was the first game in Canada. The Montreal Expos beat the New York Mets 10-9, David.
Mets won the World Series, though, so one of the few times they lost on opening day.
7:15 today, David. Hammer and Hank, 1974.
Monday night, I believe, in Atlanta. They put it on Monday Night Baseball. It was against the Dodgers, so Vin called it on radio while Kurt Gowdy called it on television.
75, The Godfather Part 2 would win the Academy Award. Today in 1976, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Leroy Selman from the University of Oklahoma.
The late Leroy Selman, a great man, gentle giant. And, that one worked out pretty well. Hall of Famer.
79, final episode of All in the Family. 89, Jim Abbott makes his debut, the one-handed pitcher. 1990, Nick Faldo goes back-to-back, going Sundeath to beat Ray Floyd in the Masters. 94, smoking banned in the Pentagon and all U.S. military bases. If you were born today, you share your birthday with John Havlicek, with Catfish Hunter, with Gary Carter, David.
All three no longer with us.
I know. Terry Porter, great basketball player, born today in 63. And Felix Hernandez, born today in 1986. And that is, today was the day when.
And Felix Hernandez, one of those that's really hurt by this because he's trying to latch on at this stage of his career. And obviously, spring training already stopped, and who knows when it's going to start up again. And it's not just the career minor leaguers; it's also those veterans who are trying to hang on and get one more year or what have you. This is going to play with a lot of people's careers.
Absolutely. There is no doubt. You bring up two really valid
30
points.
seconds.
One, the guy that's trying to get that last year. But there are so many guys in the minors and all these AAA guys. Just one more before reality's got to set in.
And you got to figure that a lot of teams, if in fact baseball returns, they're going to be like, okay, this is our, no chance to make a team. You're just going to get assigned and get back in shape. Miller and Moulton. Dave Burkett covers the Lions for the Free Press. He will join us next on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We are Fox Sports.
You're clear.
Great news, Southwest Florida. Our service and parts departments are open for business. Now's a great time to bring your vehicle in for service at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Fort Myers. Over 1,100 Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams in stock. 2019 Ram 1500 Tradesman.
So I bring up the iRacing thing to you there.
Right.
Someone chimes in on Twitch saying they used to watch a group of guys Saturday night. He goes, if you want to do this, there'll be guys that you'll be able to race with. And, I just said that my son wants to. I'm close to jumping into the pool. Comes back with, not to get too geeky, but I'd recommend the Logtech G29 racing wheel with the pedals for $250. You can add the shifter for $65 if you want it.
Hey,
$315.
Be as geeky as you want, buddy. We need the help.
David, look it. I'll tell you this, but I mean, seriously. How much of you, if they're, I know money's a little tight for everybody right now, but really, $600 out of the Miller and Moulton account, and you and I could race on Saturdays?
I'd never do it, but
you wouldn't do it?
I'd never do it. Nope. I would never do it. I'd watch it before I'd participate, to be honest with you.
I'm going to get coffee now. I don't even know who you are anymore.
The books.
I raced a car.
Return to our lives, great lives, on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in? when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors. My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myShowerDoor.com.
The sports station with balls and strikes. We also have strikes. WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Yeah, I'll double check.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like
It's pronounced
now,
Burkett.
The best local sports show this town has ever
He's
heard.
on and ready to go.
Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Third and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this hump day, the 8th of April in 2020. 4 weeks ago tonight is when the NBA suspended their season. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting many a place, including the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Joining us on the Goldberg Noon Abraham Law Firm Hotline, local people, local practice, local knowledge, Goldberg-law.com, is Dave Burkett. He covers the Lions for the Detroit Free Press. You can follow Dave on Twitter at, appropriately enough, Dave Burkett, B-I-R-K-E-T-T. Dave, top of the morning to you. Thanks for coming on, and we ask you, how are you and your family doing during all this? Everybody safe, healthy?
Yeah, we're doing well. I mean, obviously a different time for everyone. Appreciate you asking. But everyone's healthy and safe and just trying to keep the kids occupied, most importantly, I guess, right now.
Today's my wife's day off. She has Wednesdays off as a veterinarian. She's taking over the homeschooling for my kindergartner, and she's realizing what I've been doing the last couple of weeks here. It's not that easy this morning what Dad does after the show. So, Dave, we understand completely and wish you very well because we know things are not all that great in and around Detroit. And things have not been all that great for the Detroit Lions for, let's see, I was born in Saginaw in 1969. Yep, pretty much all that time.
Before that even.
Yeah, before that, going back to Lane, it's been a long time. And now they're sitting again with a high draft pick and a lot of unknowns. If Detroit had their druthers, would they stay there? Would they trade it? Would they do something crazy like draft Tua?
No, I think if things play out the way they want them to, you'll see them trading down at the end of the day, and maybe picking up an extra draft pick or two. Let's say a top 40 pick in this year's draft. Trading down to number 5 with the Dolphins, number 6 with the Chargers. I wouldn't totally rule Tua out, though no one has told me. My reporting so far leads me to believe they won't take him. I think there are valid reasons if you think he's healthy, if you think he's a prospect that that we in the media have built him up to be. I think a lot of rookies are probably going to need a redshirt year this year, himself included, just based on not having an offseason. And the way to win in the NFL is having that cheap young quarterback. So you can make the case for him. Ultimately, though, I think it's one of those defensive players in a trade down to 5 or 6.
Why is it that everybody is so ready to move on from Matthew Stafford? I mean, he's a really good quarterback. Why is it that everybody is so ready to move on? I mean, I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. Am I wrong?
No, I think I don't think the people within the organization are quite ready to move on. And, even if they were to trade down, or even if they were to draft Tua, that would not be the team moving on from him this year. Certainly it would be in the near future. I think people here in Detroit, look, Stafford is 32 years old. He's played 11 NFL seasons. Never won a playoff game. That's certainly not, all his fault, or probably even mostly his fault. I mean, obviously they've put a great team around him. But, he's coming off 2 straight seasons with broken bones in his back. So, again, I think, he's at the point of his career now where he's sort of, at the end of the peak years. And when you start looking ahead in the NFL and you realize that, how you might have to build teams, and if you're the Lions, maybe you're never in this spot again in the near future. They've had a lot of mid first round picks, 16, 18, 20. To get a guy like a Tua, I think that's why the talk has been so prevalent in Detroit.
Okay, 6 wins in Patricia's first year, 3 last year. A lot went wrong for Detroit, obviously, to blame this all on Patricia. But are they at all closer to being a playoff team now than when he got there? Because they were really close. I mean, this wasn't good enough. 9-7 for consecutive seasons wasn't good enough. And now they've won 9 games in 2 years. In your estimation, how far away are they from being the 7th seed in the NFC?
Yeah, and that 7th seed, maybe that helps them a little bit. The funny thing is they would have got in 2 years ago. The year they fired Caldwell, had the 7th playoff team been in that year. So I don't think they're closer. I mean, they made the playoffs the 2 previous seasons, and then they went 9-7 the year that Caldwell was fired, and they brought Patricia in. But I don't think they're as far away as their 3-12-1 record would indicate. I mean, they, from a talent standpoint, they certainly have the talent, I think, to compete in the NFC North. It's not as good as the Packers or Vikings, but, look, their offense was really good last year before Matthew Stafford got hurt. And they need to have a better running game, and, they need to do a whole lot better on defense. I mean, defense is really what let them down before Stafford got hurt. Just a lack of playmakers. Just no way turning the ball over. They didn't look cohesive. I was talking to one NFL offensive coordinator who was like, man, they were, one guy's doing this in the secondary and one guy's doing that. So there was a lot of problems. But from a pure talent standpoint, they lack elite guys, but I don't think they're that far off from the rest of the NFC North.
He's Dave Birkett. He covers the Lions for the Detroit Free Press. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Birkett, Birkett. Well, you said they don't have a ton of elite guys on defense. You could argue their best player on defense they traded. And it's not like they got a first-round pick for Slay either. I didn't understand it. Yeah, I know. He wanted more money. Well, A, they had the cap room, and B, they're in a win-or-everybody-gets-fired year. So why did they trade their best player?
Yeah, and throw C in the mix there. The deal that he got from the Eagles was not anything that was, it's $26 million over the first 2 years, so it's something the Lions could have done had they wanted to. Look, the Slay trade was twofold. It was about money on some level. They didn't want to give him an extension. He's 29 years old. They didn't want to pay for years that were, they felt were declining. He's still a good player. I think they would admit that. But the thought with that was beyond the money that, he wasn't what they wanted in the locker room. I would never say he was a bad guy in the locker room. He was a great guy. He was our media good guy, award winner. Players loved him. But him and Matt Patricia did not get along. Slay, after he got traded, he told me he lost all respect for Matt Patricia that first year that Patricia was there, and that things were never gonna, that fence was never going to be mended, even though year 2 was a little bit different. So I think the dynamic here played a part in that too. That year 1 with Matt Patricia, 2018, was so bad. There's so many players that didn't, appreciate Patricia's ways, didn't want to buy into the system. That's why you've seen them get rid of a lot of their best guys no matter how good of players they are, and that certainly has cost them some wins on the field.
Is this the outside practices, Dave? What is it in year one?
No.
I mean, what was it from? Because Caldwell obviously was an easy guy to play for, and they didn't think that was right. So what all were the problems year one that manifested with Patricia that have stuck around, obviously, with some guys?
Look, there was a story early about them running, and they practiced in the snow one time. It wasn't so much that. It was more. It was the way Patricia treated them, and the way Caldwell treated them. I mean, Caldwell was he had earned a lot of people's respect, and Patricia came in and puffing out his chest, and he had to be the alpha, and guys didn't like that, and they looked at him like, "What have you done? You came in riding Bill Belichick's coattails, right? Like, you need to earn our respect. You don't just demand it." And so Patricia was trying to install a system, and I think it was the way that he treated them from. Slay said, essentially talking down to him, embarrassing him in front of the team with some of the things that he was saying. The scheduling. Year two, Patricia took more of his players' views into account, I think, when it came to some of the scheduling. And it was a more harmonious year in the locker room, even though the record was worse off the field. And some of that was the changes. They brought in a lot of expatriates, and so, guys that sort of knew what to expect. So I think, again, year one, huge step back off the field, a small step back on the field. Year two, bigger step back on the field, but a step forward off the field. So now they need to put those things together and take a step forward in both regards.
All right, let's go glass half full here. They lost a lot of close games last year. A lot of games that they had the leads late third quarter into the fourth quarter. And they played most of the year without a top quarterback. So in theory, what if I spin this forward? And they play comparable football even to what they played last year. They'll be better defensively because they can't be worse, and they'll be better offensively because they're going to get Stafford back. I mean, can I make the case that, hey, if they play with the same effort, they'll probably be better in 2020 than they were in 2019. And if they were 7 points better per game, they would have been around a 500 team. Is that the best case scenario that I'm presenting?
I think that's probably the best case. I mean, they were in a lot of games, and they did have a really good offense when Stafford was healthy. The flip side would be like, why are you losing all those close games? Is that coaching, personnel? What leads you to blow 7 halftime leads? So, I think there's, in losses, that is. So I think there's some, other issues that certainly is the glass half full point of view. But the real thing, the thing that really hurt them last year, again, was that defense. And I think the biggest concern from people in Detroit is that this was the second straight year of, the guy that you hired to run your defense because of his defensive prowess as coordinator in New England, where the defenses just look lost for, half a season at least. And year one, they traded for Damon Harrison, and that turned things around in year two. And now they get rid of Harrison, they get rid of Slay, and they bring in some serviceable replacements, but still no big-time playmakers. And so as we look forward to the draft again, that's really what they need, is they need a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, and that gets to a bigger point, Dave, is that free agency has started, and last year they brought in a couple of guys, and it looks like that improved it. Is there anything that you see from a free agent where they've replaced A with B where you think A's better? Because from some of the people I've talked to is that it's just basically replacing parts with other parts.
Right. I think that's sort of the view across the league, is that they've, maybe there's some small upgrades, right? Like Jamie Collins, he's probably a better player than Devon Kennard, but I don't know that the difference is that big that it's all of a sudden going to vault you to 9 or 10 wins. I mean, he certainly knows the system, but Devon Kennard wasn't a bad player. He led him in sacks, or tied for the leading sacks the last 2 years. I think Danny Shelton, the way Damon Harrison played last year, Danny Shelton had a better season, and so you'd probably rather spend the money on Danny Shelton than Damon Harrison. But at that end of the 2018 season, Damon Harrison was as good a defensive player as they had. He was the biggest reason why their run defense changed around. So, I think Slay is better than Desmond Trufant, though, you'd still look at Trufant if he's healthy as a good cornerback. So I don't know that they made any significant upgrades. I think they just sort of filled their holes across the board.
Dave, who's the guy that even if they trade down, that they really want to come away with. I mean, you can argue you could trade down to 5, 6, and maybe even 7 if 3 quarterbacks go early, where you could get Acuna, the corner from Ohio State, Simmons, the linebacker, Clemson, or Derek Brown, the defensive tackle from Auburn. And I think all 3 are premier players. Of the 3, who do the Lions prefer?
Yeah, no, you're right. That's the group of 3 right there, and I think they would all fill a need on the Lions defense. And certainly you could make the case for all of them. Isaiah Simmons' versatility. I mean, that's what the Patriots value in their defense. That's what Matt Patricia values. Derek Brown up front. We all know what an interior pass rush does, and the Lions, they were at their best when they had Damon Harrison wrecking havoc up there. But I think the guy they want, the guy that I've given in my mock drafts, is Jeff Okudah. I mean, he's got a little bit of everything you want at a cornerback spot. He's got the ball skills. He can play press man. He's physical. He's got the length. No, he didn't run quite as well as some people thought at the combine, but he's generally considered a pretty good athlete. He tackles, which is something the Lions really want out of their cornerbacks. So, and you look at the way the Patriots have built their defense. You look at the amount of defensive backs the Lions tend to play with, 5, 6, 7 on most downs. I think Jeff Okudah and the need that the Lions have at the cornerback position long term, given that, again, Desmond Trufant, 30 years old, he's your number 1 cornerback. He's under contract for 2 more years. I think Jeff Okudah is the guy for the Lions.
And if you look at the Patriots closely, and I know the Lions just spent money on Trey Flowers a year ago, but the Patriots usually, when they spend money, they've actually spent it more on the secondary than they've spent it on any other areas on the defense. Dave, thanks for your time and your insight. Be safe, you and your family, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Yep, stay healthy. We'll see you.
Dave Burkett, follow him on Twitter. He covers the Lions for the Detroit Free Press, and he spells his last name Birkett. Dave Burkett joining us here on Miller and Moulton. If you think, now, I saw a mock draft yesterday from a guy that I respect who's pretty good at this. His mock drafts are some of the better ones in terms of what ends up happening on draft day. And he had Herbert falling all the way to the Dolphins at 18. That basically made the argument that if he doesn't go, like he had the Chargers trading up with the Lions and getting 2 at 3. And he had the Dolphins then passing and taking an offensive tackle at 5. And then Herbert drops all the way, and they can get him at 18.
And I watched the NFL Network's mock draft last night. This is what it's come to. Fortunately, they did the whole first round in a half hour and then just repeated it, so it wasn't that painful. But Daniel Jeremiah, who's their big draft guy, had Herbert going 5 to the Dolphins.
Right.
And had Tua going 6 to the Chargers.
There's a growing sentiment that the Dolphins are not enamored with Tua. That for whatever reason, Mark, and we are 2 weeks tomorrow from the draft. So as you mentioned earlier, this is lying season. But for whatever reason, what's the breeze going through NFL circles right now is that the Dolphins may not be Tua fans, and because they weren't able to interview him and they weren't able to check him out medically, that they may be shying away from him. Now, whether they go in the other direction or not, do they take Love at 18? Do they wait to the second round and take Eason early in the second round? But for what it's worth, when the Chargers moved up to 3 and they got an extra second, an extra fourth, and they also acquired a player from the Chargers in return. That was the trade to move down 3 spots. The Dolphins went offensive tackle at 5. I will say there was an amazing stat. The Dolphins' left tackles last year, Mark, gave up 84 hurries. 84. The worst tackle in the league last year, either left or right tackle, gave up 36 hurries. So the Dolphins trio at left tackle gave up almost 2.5 times as many hurries as any other tackle in the league gave up last year. That's how bad the Dolphins' left tackles were.
I only have 2 words for you to respond to that whole diatribe. Laramie Tunsil.
Well,
the most valuable tackle in the National
Miller
Football League.
Well, look at you mumbling. I don't know if you're doing Howard or who you're doing there. Miller and Moulton. Seth Everett will join us coming up in a handful of minutes. Dave Burkett joined us on the Goldberg, New and Abraham Law Firm hotline, goldberg-law.com. Thanks so much for listening. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Receiving. Over.
Alexa, play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
LeBron has shown his greatness. Kevin Durant's
I'm with you. I've got to be honest. The PS4 heckle is I'm not talking to you, David. I'm talking to these people.
You're an idiot.
Here.
Nice job.
David wants to be included. I'm going to unmute him. Now David's part of it.
No.
I didn't care about him. Heckle, I wasn't talking to David. I was talking to you. We're talking about virtual racing and PlayStation 4s, if you want to jump in the conversation, David. He just took his headsets off. Well, you can see it. He's mad at me. But I'm with you. Would you go Xbox 4 or PS4? Now, I'm thinking PS4, 1, because my son has it, and that makes more sense. 2, I'm a PlayStation guy, and 3, the whole streaming PlayStation network seems like something that might be a good thing.
$1,000 off bilateral LASIK. This is a huge savings, made even more affordable because financing is available. So when these
because I've got to start playing video games against my kid, or I've got nothing to do.
Glasses and contacts, and experience the freedom of LASIK, so that you can see clearly as we drive far, far away to, well, the grocery store to pick up food and toilet paper. Make LASIK with France Eye Care the easy choice. Start the process today by scheduling your free consultation with no purchase obligation. Wishing you the very best of health from France Eye Care.
France Eye Care. For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau. You can count on us for great service. You can count on us to get it done. You can count on us for a price that's fair. And quality is second to none. For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
At Naples Nissan, the answer is yes. Yes, we're open, and you can still get the original base MSRP for your trade-in. Yes, your new Nissan will come with a full tank of gas for the next year and our exclusive
just talking video games, David.
Warranty.
I have
sounded exciting.
Homer the fireman talked to me about the racing thing that I'm not interested in. I would never bother to simulate because I've raced a real race car.
If your trade-in is less than 8 years
did you ever
old,
kill a guy?
I didn't.
We'll still pay you.
Nothing
I
better
didn't.
than right after that whole thing. We go on the air and hops without. You said that. Well, I'm not. You just poo-pooed it in ways you couldn't poo-poo anything. We start the segment and he types in, "You've raced a car." ... But did you ever kill a guy? I almost blanked myself.
Come see us on Pine Ridge Road or visit.
That's a very valid question, sir.
Now I'm having a
Very valid
PS4
question.
versus Xbox conversation with Heckle.
Oh, I heard.
I do have a couple of, however long we go with Seth here, because the second round is up on the brackets, and there were a couple of first round upsets, in my opinion, that need to be at least recognized.
Seth has his, he started a new Twitch show.
I know, I joined him. I watched it for 5 minutes, his first show on Monday. I happened to be up here I had to send something to school, and I needed this computer, and so I jumped on with him for like 5 minutes, not on, but watched it, and that's why I want to talk to him, because I don't think you can see the OBS thing, but the camera thing, like I have you in a box. He had his guy on whole half the screen, and I'm trying to do it, but when I do it, I can't just stretch it up and down. It stretches, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
So, like when I do it, you end up taking over the whole page, so I've got to figure out what I need to do that, because it looked good. The biggest thing is that I would say he was a lot further away from his camera, and I think we've got some of these small cameras that might work better for you that we hook up down the road. So, I don't know. But, yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
Okay.
Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs deserves your vote today. Online at
He's nuts.
brooksburgers.com.
I love him, but he's nuts.
Brooks Gourmet Burgers and Dogs.
He's
Building
nuts.
the dream, one burger at a time.
All right.
I'm Todd Brooks, and I
Goodbye.
approve this message.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This
You're live.
is Miller and Moulton.
It's 25 minutes past 8 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. It's the 8th of April. It is 4 weeks to the day that the NBA ended up suspending their season. 479-5551 is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 479-5551. Chime in to the show if you want to leave something for takeout shout out. That number is 479-5577, 479-5577. Seth Everett will join us coming up in a moment.
Well, we have round 2 of our binge brackets. They are up. I'm actually voting as we speak. And there were a couple, David, of round 1 upsets, in my opinion, that I do think need to at least be noticed. And some really tough round 2 matchups. But we had a couple of upsets that I thought were worthy, David, in round 1. First off, MASH, which you and I love. But it's an old show. It's an old show, and it was taken down. Big Bang Theory takes out MASH, and what I think's a mild upset. I thought that outside of that, there weren't a lot of huge first round upsets. I was a little upset that Succession's one of my favorite shows, but that got trounced by Everybody Loves Raymond. That was a little bit of an upset out there. Cheers beat 2.5 Men in a big 8-9 battle. Loved some of the 8-9s with popular shows. South Park beat Veep in that. But there are some really... King of the Hill beat True Detective. That was a bit of a surprise to me. Brockmire taking down The Cosby Show. Just shows you where Bill has gone, David.
No question about it. Would have been a top 2 seed.
Oh, it's a top 2 all-time seed without what happened. Go put the show on. It's still funny.
Tough to find it these days.
I know.
To find it these days. Joining us now on the Goldberg New and Abraham Law Firm hotline is Seth Everett. Seth, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you guys?
Well, doing
Everybody
fine. Yeah. How about you and your family? I mean, you're in the heart of it there in the Northeast in northern Jersey. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're all hanging in there. It's safe and it's very close. There's a guy across the street. We live walking distance from a hospital, and there's about 630 cases there. So it's right in our backyard.
Seth, I'm curious. Are you scared to go out? And I'm not being flippant. I'm not at all, Seth. You're someone being that close to a hospital, having a neighbor. Like I was saying yesterday to start the show today, there's people doing things. We have a lot of people in the food service industry that are getting crushed. So I've given a little money and tried to help out. I know of one person that has COVID-19. As a manager of a store, I've known him for years. He's not a close friend, but I know him. And through Facebook, I've seen some of what he's gone through. That's the only person I know. I listened to a little bit of your show on Monday on Twitch, Seth. You said a guy across the street, a hospital. How scared are you to just go out of the house right now?
Going out of the house doesn't bother me. The weather's been nice the last 2 days. We've gone, taking the dog for walks. I've tried to walk as much as I can by myself. I try to ditch the dog and try to just walk because I can keep up a good pace.
Yep.
But we won't go to a grocery store. We've made a conscious decision that we are doing delivery, and the only thing we're doing, and we've done 4 in 3 weeks. And you say, why 4 deliveries? Because 2 of them canceled at the last minute, and you have to book them a week in advance now. So it's very, very unnerving. we have a delivery we actually have 2 deliveries scheduled for this weekend. And if either one gets canceled, I have to go to a grocery store because we won't have enough food. So we've been rationing, and we're taking it very, very seriously. My wife has autoimmune issues. She can't get it. And I have asthma, and I can't get it. So we're taking it real seriously. And luckily, the guy across the street, he's okay. He's all right. He feels much better now. I kind of look at coronavirus as stages. And to me, and maybe stage is the wrong word, but stage 1 is like you test positive, but you don't really have a lot of symptoms. Stage 2 is you feel like crap and you can't get out of bed. Stage 3 is ventilator, and stage 4 is you're done. That's kind of how I look at it. And I think that the guy across the street, he had stage 1. He didn't feel awful, but he had it, and he definitely clearly had the symptoms. His doctor said it. And the thing was, in 2 circumstances, in people that are close to me, including my wife's 91-year-old grandmother, they said, don't bother getting tested. Treat it as if you have it. The guy across the street, his doctor said, you have it. You have every symptom. He said, but don't waste a test, and don't wait online for a test, and the tests aren't, make sure an older person who has it. My wife's 91-year-old grandmother, she has a nurse at home. She doesn't live in an assisted living. She has a nurse.
Right.
And once a month, a hairdresser comes to her house once a month. And that woman came to her house the Monday before Rudy Gobert tested positive. So the first week, that second week in March.
Yeah, it was 30 days ago.
She tested positive. That woman did. So technically, if you follow the rules, my 91-year-old grandmother-in-law tested positive. She was in direct contact. Now, she never developed the symptoms, and they said, don't get a test because if you go to the testing center, you'll catch it, at 91. And so that's a different thing. And so when I see, and it's transitioning to sports, when I see anyone talking about quarantining 750 baseball players, it makes me nauseous because, and any time I've gone on a radio show that has suggested something like that for basketball, for football, for whatever sport, all I say is, look at Central Park. There is a playground in Central Park that I pushed my kid on a swing when she was little, and 2 feet from that playground, there are tents that look like the television show MASH, and there are hospital beds in those tents only for coronavirus patients.
Now,
the
Seth.
Javits Center.
Seth.
The Javits. Let me just
Seth,
the last part.
Well, okay.
No, I was going to say the Javits Center, where I interviewed the cast of Batman the Animated Series, is now a makeshift hospital. Until those things go back to normal, Yankee Stadium is not opening anytime soon.
Well, but Seth, they're not, in fairness to these sports, and it's not just baseball. We were talking about this earlier in the show, that we're in the stage of no idea is a bad idea. Now, obviously, there will be a few. But if you're a commissioner of these sports, you're spitballing here. You're trying to figure out how are we going to be able to do something this year instead of just say, see ya in 2021.
Instead of punting. You're absolutely right.
And so
acknowledge that Manfred's idea is a dumb one.
Well,
it's a
but
really
Seth,
dumb one.
well, but
Okay,
Seth,
what's your idea?
I mean, how do you get this started?
Okay, but then you can't sit here, and this is what bothers me, Seth. You can't just sit there and go, well, that's a stupid idea, unless you have something else. Because the choices for these guys, Seth, are either play or we cancel the season. And they don't want to cancel these seasons. You know the money that's at stake, and I know you can't. I know you don't want to compare the two.
Sport, I have a plan.
Okay, baseball.
Sport, I have a plan.
Baseball.
Baseball, wait. Baseball waits. Baseball is the only
until
sport
when?
That waits. July.
So we don't come up with any plans between now and July. We just sit there, and then in July we say.
Have you ever been? Okay.
No, I'm serious.
Have you ever been in Phoenix, Arizona, in June, July, and August?
I actually have. Yes.
You're going to put. It's 120 degrees. You're going to play day games outside? You think the players' union for 1 second would go for that?
As opposed to not getting paid.
I'm sorry. I don't need to have a plan to solve the coronavirus to know that is one of the dumbest things I've heard in 15 years.
All right, and fair enough.
That idea is ridiculous.
Okay. And part of the problem for baseball here is, like you mentioned, Arizona in the summer is god-awful hot. Florida in the summer, it rains or a serious threat of it every day between 3 and 5 o'clock.
And it's 220 miles. Right. It's 220
exactly.
miles between all those parts where it's 50 in Arizona.
Right. And so baseball's got a logistical problem here, where the stadiums are theoretically close together. You've got weather issues, and then obviously you're dealing with 26 or 30 major league cities here, and they have their own issues. So if you're baseball, okay, you wait till July.
You have to wait,
and then what? I mean, there's a very good chance, Seth, because let's see, we got 2 teams in L.A., 2 in Chicago, 2 in New York. So we're dealing with 27 cities here. You could have 24 of them where they're given the all clear, and if 3 aren't, what do you do? I mean, it's difficult to imagine you're going to get the all clear.
You're not, because as long as 600,000 people in Alabama went to work yesterday, you're not Wuhan, China. You're not Italy. And the problem and again, you want to stick to sports, and I do too, but the problem here is that we're not, as a country, taking this virus seriously. I was on the air in Sioux Falls, South Dakota yesterday. It's a really good radio show, and they asked a very honest question. They're not dumb people. They came out and said, for college football this year, do you think fans or no fans? Would you rather go start on time with no fans, but or delay and have fans? And I said, have you seen Central Park? You can't do it, and it's not about fans.
Seth, they don't play college football in Central Park, though. I mean that's part of why Sioux Falls looking around going, we got 9 cases. Okay, when are we going to be allowed out of our house again? When are we going to be allowed to get back in society again? And you're right, Seth. I mean, America's only going to stay indoors so long. I mean, we're not a communist country where they could say you stay put for 4 months. We're probably not going to do that as a country. So we're at some point, the curve's going to get to a certain point where we're going to go, okay, we're now going to leave our house. Maybe it's with masks, and we're going to have to start moving forward. But then they're going to say, we're going to start moving forward, and we'll deal with this as best we can. If you're baseball, though, if you're a sport, any sport, can you start up if there's coronavirus out there, or does it have to be 0?
I don't think it has to be 0, but there has to be a better testing program than we have. There has to be a way to prove that the people involved are cleared. Because let's just go with the Phoenix argument. Let's just say, global warming, and now Phoenix has, 75 and sunny for 4 months. If you did that, you'd have to test every baseball player, every trainer, every coach, every official, every umpire. You'd have to do all of that, and then promise me that they're quarantined. And you can't quarantine 1,000 people. It's impossible. And that's the only thing. It is not about the fans. It is not about the general public. It's, first of all, for these sports to be able to have preferential treatment for tests when a 75-year-old man can't get a test in northern New Jersey. I don't think it's right. I don't even want to go there. The one sport that I think has to make a decision now, and I think the NBA can hold out because the NBA has shown that they're willing to compromise next season to get a playoff in because that's financially feasible for them. Okay, good luck. I love the horse idea because everyone has an HD webcam and no one needs to be in any risk whatsoever to do this cockamamie horse thing, and I will watch it, I will support it, and I will share it as much as I can because if that's something sports that is not a risk, I love it. But hockey is the one that I reached out to Gary Bettman, and I haven't heard back, but I know he's in isolation, so I'm expecting a call back. I think you have to cancel that season because unfairly, and I don't think it's on purpose, those players are not allowed to see their families. 60% of NHL rosters are not North American. And if you cancel your season, you let the Swedish guys go to Sweden and the Finland guys go to Finland and the Russian guys go to Russia and let these guys see their families. And that was to the baseball point, because when I brought that up, someone suggested, I think it was Chris Broussard, said to me, he said, well, what about the baseball player who is with his family? And you're going to tell them to go to Arizona for 4 months in the midst of a pandemic and leave your little kids? I wouldn't do it. If you told me, hey, baseball's going to play all their games within 50 miles of each other in Phoenix, Arizona, we'll pay you $1 million to go. I said, no way. I am not leaving my wife and children. Not during this. Because if my wife gets sick, they need someone to take care of them. And it can't be my neighbor, and it can't be my mother, and it can't be my sister, because you don't know who they've been exposed to. I have one responsibility, and that is to my family. And those baseball players have the same thing.
And Seth, that's a rational statement from someone who's married with 2 kids and is past the age of playing. We all know that a 25-year-old, 28-year-old who's at a short window of making money, I don't know if they'd make those decisions. And I do think that has to be put into it. Because I've said all along, if the NFL...
You have to have
Seth,
everybody.
No, you don't.
But you have to have everybody.
No, you really don't. If you don't want to play, you don't have to. You don't get paid. It's really simple. It is actually more simple than that.
You can't put that. You can't.
Why?
Make that. You can't make players have to make that choice.
Why?
No. You can't, because you can't ask players. You can't dangle carrots and ask players to make risks.
Okay, so then do the players not get? So then, do all the players not get paid, or do you think the players should still get paid and not play? I think these are legitimate questions, Seth.
I think the players should use their strike fund, and the union should take care of those players. I think that the league should not be responsible to pay players when they're not getting their TV money or their attendance money. I know that's a very harsh thing, but I'm sorry. Like the network should not have to pay for this. And if you look in all the different network contracts, there are different clauses in each one. Like the NFL might still get paid, but hockey doesn't, and the NBA doesn't.
He's Seth Everett. Sports with Friends and Hall of Justice are the 2 podcasts. And beginning this week, he has a new show, and it is on Twitch. And you can follow Seth on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Now, I must admit, listening to you, and you are more strident about this, and I do think part of it is where you live versus where we live. Okay, and so that's why for those that are listening in all parts of the country, you, I think, may be more towards Seth's point of view and others may be more towards our point of view. But it sounds as if you were the commissioner, that deep down you feel baseball, basketball, and hockey are not happening. I mean, that's what it sounds like. It's difficult to imagine a scenario, based on listening to you for the last 15 minutes, I'm struggling to come up with a scenario that you as commissioner would sign off on.
Baseball, I'm on the fence. Baseball I waver every day. Basketball and hockey, I agree with you. And I think the NFL, and I've said this before, I don't announce the schedule because unless you can guarantee me games. And to be honest with you, David, I haven't thought about when sports can return. I know you guys are doing this radio show, so it's different. But I don't think about it. You know what I'm thinking about? I found out that one of my sister's friends told me that sleepaway camps are starting a May 15th drop-dead date. If that's true, there is no chance any summer camps are happening this summer.
Nope.
If the deadline is May 15th, there's no chance. And so now I have these 2 young ladies, 11 years old and 8 years old, that I have to tell them that they're not going to camp. And that was my summer, because I got to bring a little brevity to this segment. That was my first summer. That was my first summer with no children in 11 years. And I had a lot of big plans for this summer.
How long is camp, Seth? I'm being how long is camp? How long?
7 weeks, and this was the first time the little one was going to go. And so we've had summers where we've only had the one, but we've had the one. And now we had a summer. A summer of we were dropping them off. We had 2.5 months, no kids.
All right, Seth. Sorry about that. We'll see you in Arizona for baseball season, but we've got.
I can promise you. What do they think? I tweeted. I said, "Does Manfred think that
David.
the heat will melt the coronavirus? Is that how it works?"
Well, they'll be playing a lot of games where the Diamondbacks play. It is hot. They'll have to play a lot of games where the Diamondbacks play and close that roof. All right, very quickly, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and also just as quickly, you have a co-host, don't you, for this Twitch show?
The Twitch show is actually his idea. Ton Thomas, former NBA player, he's a really good dude, and he's a social activist, which I was really, really impressed with. Like, why does a guy take his free time and do stuff like that where he doesn't need the money? Ton Thomas was one of the guys that hosted on ESPN Syracuse, which was simulcasted on Twitch. And when we shut down, when sports shut down, they kind of shut that project down. And so Ton and I said we wanted to do a show. So noon to 2, we're going to do the show on Twitch. Sports with Friends, TJ Quinn is my guest for he's the ESPN investigative reporter. And it's really cool because I met him through Daryl Hamilton, so we have very cool stories. And then Lenore Zen, you do not know her name, but for the Hall of Justice, she is a member of Canada's Parliament. She works with Prime Minister Trudeau. So get a government perspective on the coronavirus was fascinating. She also was an actor in the young portion of her life, and she was the voice of Rogue on the X-Men animated series. And I have teased about having her on for months, but I thought, isn't this a great time to get an actual government official, not our government, but a government official to give her perspective on this pandemic? I thought it was perfect. Lenore Zan tomorrow on the Hall of Justice. And I'm going to be putting my podcast on the Twitch stream. So you can hear my podcast. If you follow me on the Twitch stream, I'm going to be airing my podcast while I go eat lunch.
He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, the new Twitch show, noon to 2, and you can follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Seth, stay safe, you and the family.
You guys too, and thanks for doing a great show. I listen every morning.
Thanks, Seth.
Thank you, Seth. Seth Everett, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. The good, the better, and the best, along with today's version of Takeout Shoutout as we wrap up the Wednesday edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We are Fox Sports!
You're clear.
This is a special coronavirus
Takeout Shoutout is 1 minute.
From Wink News.
I'm Therese O'Shea with Wink News. The death toll in Southwest Florida is now at 22, the latest, a 77-year-old Lee County man. There are now 800 confirmed cases in our area. Statewide, there are more than 14,000 positive cases. Lee County schools are off for Good Friday and the day after Easter, this coming Monday. There will be no e-learning lessons or grab-and-go meal distributions. Tomorrow, you can pick up breakfast and lunch bags for those days with instructions for proper storage and preparation. This afternoon, Governor DeSantis is speaking in Miami Beach, where they're expected to convert the convention center into a field hospital with 450 beds. People with high blood pressure or diabetes are now said to be at greater risk for COVID-19. New data shows more than 4,000 people in New York who died of the virus had at least one chronic illness. For updates on coronavirus, trust Wink News. Facts, not fear.
The physicians and staff at Center for Men's Health want you to know that C4MH.com is open and will remain open through this entire ordeal. C4MH.com has taken a multitude of steps to make their offices the safest places they can be. And here's a few examples that make that statement a fact. C4MH.com treats all offices with Microban 24, the most advanced antivirus disinfectant available today. And unlike any other disinfectant, Microban 24 kills viruses for 24 hours after application, touch after touch. The staff wears level 1 procedure masks, and you can have one too. They monitor their temperatures, and soon they'll do the same for you when you walk in the door. All pens and clipboards are antimicrobial, and when you walk in, you will use hand sanitizer. C4MH.com prepared for this early so that both their staff and patients remain safe. Safe is the way it's always been at C4MH.com. It's Frank from Z105, and I know because I'm a patient there too.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
We're here, we're open, and we're on a mission to make a difference at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. Our service and parts departments are open for business. Now's a great time to bring your vehicle in for service. And right now, you can buy a new Galliana Kia with 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, no payments for 120 days. 2020 Kia Soul or 2020 Kia Forte. Lease for just $99 per month. That's right, a new Kia Soul or Forte for $99 per month. Want to sell or trade your car fast? Go to GallianaKia.com and submit a trade valuation request. In minutes, we'll make you an offer to buy your car, even if you don't buy a car from us. And we'll come pick it up.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
We're here, we're open, and we're on a mission to make a difference at Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. GallianaKia.com. 24-month lease is 10,000 miles per year, $44.99 due at signing plus tax and tag. No security deposit, subject to lender approval. Offers don't combine, expires month end.
We're on the phone with our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. TJ, we hear you've added several new colors of Core-Tec to your great lineup of products at the store. Tell us more about that.
We just ordered 5 new colors of Core-Tec for our stock. All nice, light, beautiful colors for Southwest Florida. That'll bring our total of 55 colors of Core-Tec in stock every day for purchase and take home.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec Wood. Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Do you like me? Like Miller and Moulton on Facebook. Just search Miller and Moulton.
Would you like that?
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. LED color-changing pool lights can create an after-dark backyard oasis. Pick your color or select one of the light shows. You can see how dramatic it really is on our website. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Attention! Attention! Have you recently questioned your safety? These are chaotic times, and these are normal feelings. What can you do to feel safe and confident? Visit the Alamo Range in North Naples. Inquire about their training classes to help you be a confident marksman, and ask to be shown around by one of the staff. Notice its cleanliness and selections. Visit the Alamo and discover a new rewarding pastime. The Alamo Gun Range of Naples. Naples' premier indoor gun range and firearms superstore. AlamoRange.com.
Well, we've hit rock bottom.
Let me say something. I'm in a glass case of emotion.
You know things are really bad when Waffle House is closed and Mark Miller has a positive attitude.
Let's pump the brakes there.
With that being said, here's our brand new bright and shiny segment.
You're live.
Mark Miller's the good, the better, and the best. Man, I hope we get back to normal fast. This is weird.
Step into the sun, step into the light. Keep straight ahead for the most glorious place on the
I've never hated and liked a song so much at the same time. Because that's just awful, and I just kind of bop to it every morning. I just kind of dance. You can watch every morning on Twitch of what an ass I make of myself, usually around 8:53 in the morning. For the good, we go to Columbus, Ohio, where the Roush family had their 8-year-old son say he was losing his mind because of boredom. So the family set up a drive-through chat, encouraging area residents to pull into their U-shaped driveway so that Mom Connie, Dad Matt, and son Charlie, and 6-year-old daughter Luetta could chat with them through their living room window. 40 people have stopped by within the last week. Police officers, the teachers, the children's teachers, and neighbors they've never met. Walkers, cyclists, and even a motorcyclist to show up. A sign directs people to visit between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Honk the horn to get the family's attention. That's That's cute.
Nice.
That's cute, David. That's why it's the good. The better? Well, we go to the Detroit River, separating Detroit from Windsor, Ontario, where man, after doing a 12-hour shift at a Detroit hospital as a respiratory therapist, was going back home. He lives in Canada. So he was crossing back into the border, and he saw emergency lights on the border and was initially afraid they wouldn't let him back in. But what happened next moved Jeffrey Rowe to tears. There were 20 customs officers standing there with signs welcoming back the Canadian healthcare worker. They were shouting and cheering him after a long, stressful shift. He said, it went straight to my heart. I was crying all the way home. And finally, the best, we go to Iowa. You know, David, the square state. You'd have to have been listening for a while to understand that, but it just shows you the level of education that our executive producer, John Cassio, received. In Earlham, Iowa, a man wanted to do something nice. No one knows who it is. Even the mayor doesn't know who it is. He had requested to buy $150 gift cards to support